1 2 1 2 1 2. I think I got you. What is good? Hopefully we got the mic working now. I was just panicking. Let me stop the music. I'm getting levels now. One, two, 1 2. Let's see. 1 2 1 2. Yes, I think I've tested the live stream. Let me hear the comments. Yeah, it's up now. First, I'm back. I'm back officially. Oh, man. What's good? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we're going to talk about Tim Pool today. Thanks for hanging in there. I was on a family vacation, so I was trying to do some uploads with just some quick mic audio, stepping away from the family for a second, but this is the first time I've been able to sit down and actually kind of have a conversation or talk. A lot's happened since I've been on vacation. Great to be back. I was in rural America. Love rural parts of this country. I haven't been to all rural parts of this country, but I have been in some, and I have liked it. So I'm going to talk about that. The channel has been demonetized, and I'll talk about that. I did post on the YouTube community tab about it, but I haven't done any video, quick discussion on it. And then most of this is going to be about what happened with Tim Pool. I think I don't get into talking about other people just to talk about other people. That ain't nothing. I'm not against that. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But that's not my thing. It's important to talk about because we are in an informational battle. And Tim Pool is one of the generals. So we got to talk about the moves that he's making, and we all play a different role. We all play different roles. So you don't have to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube to have a role in this. And that's what I want to talk about, the Tim Pool stuff. It's not about drama or anything like that. It's about strategy. So yeah, the channel was demonetized, and the reason for that, just to share real quick, is, and I'm not knocking YouTube at all. I think it's a legitimate, who knows if they do it fairly across all channels, but I'm going to assume that they do because I don't know otherwise. But I was uploading like clips, like if you would have seen like a Biden press conference or a TikTok video or something like that, and not altering it. I thought it would be cool if I was uploading it and didn't try to monetize it. But it looks like YouTube, they run checks continually to see how much stuff you're putting on YouTube, even whether it's monetized or not, is original video. And so it had nothing to do with content. I don't have any strikes, nothing like that. So I just wish they would have gave me a warning before, but whatever. This is in the terms of agreement. I'm not complaining about that. This is my warning. So I went back. I've deleted everything that's pretty much not original or altered. That's why you'll see some channels, they'll do a Biden clip and then they'll kind of zoom all over the place and put a happy face or something. They're just altering it. So I'll make that adjustment. No worries. And so you can't do super chats. Thanks for everybody who's a member. There's no more membership right now. I'll be able to reapply at the end of August. And who knows? Hopefully, we'll see what happens by the end of the year to get remonetized. So you can't do super chats, none of that kind of stuff. But the channel's not, this isn't a money-making channel. That's not the point. I'm grateful to be on YouTube, to not have been struck down and all that. The concern I have is if you're not monetized, if your channel isn't monetized, I don't think you get promoted as much through YouTube. Because they're not making, well, they can still put ads on your videos, but if your channel's demonetized, you're not going to be in the same place as a channel where they could. Like, if I do a video and somebody else does a video on the same topic, and their channel's monetized, which channel do you think YouTube's going to promote? Of course, the one that's monetized. And it's really nothing in YouTube's benefit to just demonetize a channel, really. So I'll be working on that just to let you guys know why it might look different, no membership, all that kind of stuff. Not worried about it. It's not going to change anything about my regular videos, though, that's for sure. Before I get into Tim Pool, time to go to Rumble. Yep, I am. I'm actually live streaming on Rumble. The challenge. So here's where my take is. Thanks for the comments here. This is people looking out. Just say, hey, go do this, do this. And yeah, I got to figure that out. I think I'm actually going to go the Rumble route. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Odyssey right now, live streaming literally right now. I'm going to probably go to creating a website and then funneling locals and Rumble and all that through there. So it's like one place to go, and then I can kind of see which is the main. Is it Rumble or what? I don't know what it is. My biggest alt platform site is actually Odyssey. So shout out. If you're listening live on Odyssey, shout out. I can't be in the chat. I can't do like 1 million chats at the same time, so I'm sorry. But I prioritize YouTube right now. But shout out to the Odyssey fam out there listening live. Thank you for the recommendations as well. I'll be looking through those. Before I get to Tim Pool, I'm going to go through this real quick. I was in a rural part of this country in Minnesota. I'm not going to try to be as general as possible. I'm not sure how much that matters, but things are a lot different now. Then I've been going to this same rural part of this country for damn near 10 years. So I've seen, so if I say I see a change, I've seen a change. I'm going to share my screen here. I was in a shop in rural America, a toy store in rural America. And in this toy store, I was surprised. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised to see the raised fist. The Black Lives Matter fist in this rural America store. This Black Lives Matter fist, this fist has history. It's not just a fist. And then I also highlighted a Colin Kaepernick jersey. This is in Minnesota. They don't have anything to do with Colin Kaepernick and when he played with the 49ers years ago. Colin Kaepernick has become a symbol of this same type of ideology. So like, wow, that's interesting. They got a crying Drake there, a meme. So they're mixing these very powerful philosophies, the symbols, with like the laughing Drake meme or the crying Drake meme, which is just something to be culturally relevant to the younger audience. Adults, in rural America, I guarantee you, if I polled that town, you couldn't find, I think it's about 4,000 people in that town. I guarantee you, if you polled people over 30 or 40 years old, I couldn't find 5 of them that knew where that crying Drake meme came from. They're targeting the kids with that. Crazy stuff. So I tweeted on it. I was like, I'm not sure what to make of this. I almost tweeted it like damn near in the moment. I'm in rural America. This is Trump territory. I'm not sure of what to make of this. And then at the time I was like, I'm not making a statement just yet. I'm gonna make a statement now, but I want to move a lot slower. I'm already slow, but I don't want to react too quickly. I'm like, I don't know what to make of it yet. I'm just noting, here's the demographics of the area displaying communist propaganda disguised behind race. And the Black Fist, I'm not going to get off too much in a tangent in this nitty gritty. The Black Fist has been co-opted. It started out as a labor movement. Nothing wrong with how it originally started out with. It was common people raising their fist for their rights, workers' rights. Then it got co-opted by these crazy lunatics, Marxists, these communist groups commandeered it for evil, in my opinion. So that's what it means now. And the demographics of this town, 91.16% white, 6.27 other, I don't know what that means, Black or African American, not even 1%. There's almost as many Native Americans in this area as Black or African Americans. No Asian, like that's the demographics. So I said the crying Drake meme is a cultural reference aimed at young people. It originated from tweets like this. The purpose of including it is to associate communism, which simply means centralized control of power. They talk about communism. They try to make communism about workers' rights. It's not about that. At the end of the day, it's a marketing ploy to promote the idea of a dictator. That's all communism is. At its core, break it down, forget about the little nitty gritty back and forth. That's what communism is. Drake had this video where he was crying about things being rough, and that's how the meme, at least I know the meme came apart. Somehow, a rural part of this country that would organically, what I mean by organically is if you had no TV, no social media, no radio, organically, this part of the country would be one of the strongest opponents to this ideology. Maybe it's ignorance. I don't know what it is. People don't care. They don't know what it is. They didn't see it. But it's in the store. And it's impossible to have gotten there organically. That's not possible. This is the work of incredible social engineering. That's how it got there. This town is in Otter Tail County, Minnesota, less than 4,000 people. I couldn't find this breakdown Trump-Biden for that town. For the county, it's 65-33 Trump-Biden. So that's not... Black Lives Matter was, it's a Marxist organization, neo-Marxism, not classic Marxism, and it was obviously for Biden. 65% Trump area with that. Well, you might be saying, well, this person here, great comment, the owner of the store embraces it. Doesn't mean the community does. You can find, I don't want to get into that, but he said, I doubt these decals are flying off the shelf. Great point. I said, that might be the most meaningful comment. That might be the most accurate assessment. I still think it's crazy, though. And amazing to see that symbolism that represents, that symbolism that I'm talking about right here, it represents hatred of America. It represents hatred of the citizens of that town and everything about this town in a kid's toy store. So I still think it's crazy to see it there. For this town to not shun that, or not see it or don't care, whatever, it's poison. That's how poison starts. I guarantee you, go to the store next year, 10 years from now, it's going to be more radicalized than just that. Colin Kaepernick famously was like, misrepresenting Frederick Douglass, talking about how he basically, 4th of July is your holiday. So at the end, I'm going to get to Tim Pool. At the end, my takeaway from this is the kindness and benevolence of America is being used as a weakness to infiltrate it. That's what's happening at the southern border. We are kind. We are a gracious, loving nation. And that's being taken advantage of. You cannot let someone, and I've had this problem in my own personal work life. This is a hobby. I don't think that this YouTube is my work thing. I love it, but it's not a work thing. In my real work life, I've had that problem where it's like, sometimes you're too kind and the wrong people, most people don't, the wrong people will take advantage of it. That's what's happening right now. And I don't want to lose the kindness, but I want to be able to step up and say, and realize what's happening and say, no, that's not going to be allowed. And you're not, I don't care about what name you're going to call me. So I just want to get that off my threat here, off my mind here, off my throat. No threat, it's all love. Thing about rural America that I've been in, I haven't been in the deep South, so they have a different history. So let me be clear on that. But in the parts of the country that I've been, rural America, Michigan is just like Illinois. These states, I've been more Midwestern rural. Most of these states, Illinois is a red state, and you've got Chicago ruling the whole damn state. And you got fools on the internet asking, like, why do we have the Electoral College? And it's like, if you ever for 1 second put yourself in somebody else's shoes and didn't assume that your ideology was the only one and the only right one, it would be very clear for you to understand why there's an Electoral College. Otherwise, we would be ruled by Los Angeles and New York. Is that what you want for the country? And for them, yes, but for most people, no. But my take on it is, I went up there with kids, my 2 kids, and other family kids, and one of them, was talking to my wife and said their kids went from this rural part of the country, we were taking a vacation. In that part of the country, when a car drives by, you wave. That's just what you do. Just to be like, hey, good morning. You walk by, you say hi. You walk by somebody, you chat with them. There's this random woman walking her dog down the street, and she was like, hey, how you doing? And we were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm only here for a little bit. We're in a little log cabin. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm from here. And here's my dog, and I will see you around. There's a lot of talk about beliefs and ideology. But the only ideology that really matters to me is that I respect you and you respect me. That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care what you believe. And that's what at least I get. You don't bother people. You don't do bad things to people. They don't bother you. And the kids went back to Chicago, and Chicago, they're like, I don't like Chicago. People don't wave at each other. It's just a different culture. Nothing wrong with it, but it is different. So I just want to share my thoughts there. Thank you, Brian, for stopping by. Let's get into Tim Pool. If you don't know what happened, some stuff went down. And it's not like drama necessarily, but if you don't know, here's what happened. On July 28th, Tim Pool made the executive decision to cut his YouTube live stream. I have never seen him cut his live stream live. Never seen that. Tim Pool will at times, after the show is recorded, he will pull it from YouTube. So you can't see it anymore unless you saw it live. And then it will be on his website. So this is a pretty drastic thing for it to happen. I want to talk about the context behind it. People gave feedback to Tim Pool, and I don't think they understand. The guests were Ariel Pink, a musician who attended J6, a Trump supporter, got dropped from their label 2 days after J6. They attended J6, but they weren't doing any violence. They were there peacefully to watch their president at the time, Trump was still president, speak. That's all. But it was an enemy territory. Everybody knew it was an enemy territory, but nobody knew what was going to go down to give the excuse to put the smackdown on their political enemies. So Ariel Pink just literally went to J6, didn't even walk to the Capitol, wasn't in the Capitol, didn't do any violence, got dropped from the music label just for being there. It's not a guy that looks like it's a guy. It doesn't look like, he goes by he. It's a guy who I don't think looks like your typical Trump supporter. He's whatever. Alex Lee Moyer was on there. This isn't about Alex. Alex is a woman, editor, director, producer, has a new documentary out that I can't wait to watch. I'm probably going to cop it on Odyssey. It's $20 on Odyssey. It's Alex's War. Ray Studios, what's up? I see Ray Studios stopped by. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but what's up, Ray? I gotta hit Ray Studios up, get him on. So those were the guests: Alex Lee Moyer and Ariel Pink, and that's his stage name. So that's Ariel was on that. It's about Ariel is where the comment came from. So here's what happened. Ariel Pink made a comment that led Tim to shut the stream down live. As you can see in this clip, Tim is visibly unhappy in the moment. I did piece this together, and at the end, I kind of highlighted Tim just so we're clear on what's there. This is the only clip I could find of it. They cut the live stream live. You can't go back and see it. I don't think you can't see it anywhere. It's not even on his website, to my knowledge. And I am a member on his website. So here's the clip, and for YouTube, I'm just playing the clip. My channel, I did a video a while back, but I'm about peace. That's it. When I say I want to politically fight for my rights, I pretty much 99% of the time qualify that with politically fight, figuratively. So this is just sharing the clip. Hopefully there's no echo. Let me know.
Force people underground and expect them not to go crazy. Like you need to
It's not
allow
even- you have to
people
kill them.
access. No, well, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying like canceling is not the answer.
No, you really need to allow people to communicate. It's so important. Even people in prison. I think the prison reform is so important that people have access to the outside world still and are able to communicate with their families. Isolation.
They
is
vote.
devastating.
We fought for their right to vote. I mean, in their.
I just shut it down.
That's Tim. You can see him. That was right after the comment was made.
Force people underground and expect them not to go crazy. Like you need to
It's not
allow
even-
You have to
people
kill them.
access. No, well, no, you don't.
No.
He said you have to unlive them. And that's all that's what this is all about, is that comment right there from Ariel Pink. Outdoor Living, new subscriber. Damn glad to be here. Damn glad to have you. Thank you. So people were after Tim Pool for this. I'm like, really? You're after Tim Pool for this? Now, I understand, because you listen to different YouTube channels and different people handle things differently. Steven Crowder does all kinds of crazy stuff. He's a lot more subdued now, recently. I think he's playing it a little bit safer, which I like. But I just watched Elijah Schaffer earlier today on Slightly Offensive. That's one of my favorite channels, one of my favorite dudes, Elijah Schaffer. And they are cutting up on that channel. They be cutting up. This is tame for them. They blow, if this is the line, they blow past that line every single day. And I love them for that. And they're funny. And it's not to be mean, it's to be real. Like, we can make fun of each other. It's okay. The world's not going to end. But Tim doesn't do that. That's not how he rolls. You know that. If you don't know that, that's on you. You need to know what show you're going on. Tim Pro does not roll like that. In the after show, I did not clip this because it's up behind the payroll. So I was debating. I actually recorded it. I was like, let me not clip it because it's behind the payroll. That's uncouth. Go to TimCast.com, subscribe. He does an hour show. I might end up doing clips of it because it's just so good. I'm not doing a lot. It's an hour show. Maybe I'll do a minute of clips or something. It was a great show. Sign up for a month to TimCast.com just to listen to the after show after they cut this live stream. They were talking about business and things behind the scenes. If that interests you, if you are a creator and you can afford the $10 a month, put 10 on, cancel it if you can't afford it every month. Things are tough out here. They might not call it a recession, but we are in tough economic times. I don't care what you call it. Tim was talking about it and said, here's what happened. That's what I want to talk about. Why did they do this? Why did this happen? Yes, I think it's YouTube censorship. Tim has been swatted too many times. So I think people in the chat here are getting it. Did Tim Pool, who attacked? Was it Elijah Schaffer that attacked Glenn Beck? I don't know all the history. I know Elijah has been through like some softer periods and more aggressive periods. Nobody's perfect, but I just enjoy his show. I don't even go past that. Some people, Tim Pool it's weird. Tim Pool is a very divisive figure for some people. Tube Doggo says a grifter and a fake patriot. Wow. I don't agree with that, but I respect the opinion. We first have to acknowledge Tim Pool is not a conservative, and that's why I don't label myself a conservative. I agree with universal basic income. I agree with Medicare for all. A lot of people on the channel would strongly disagree with me on those policies. I'm for wiping out the social safety nets we have now, welfare, all that, get rid of it, even Social Security, get rid of all of it and replace it with that. I understand the government's not trustworthy, but I'm just assuming we had a trustworthy government. I would be for those policies to set an economic floor. But the reason I bring that up is to say that's why I don't call myself anything, because I might be conservative, whatever you label that, on one topic, and I might be a flaming, I don't think I'd be a leftist I call them leftists, like corporate leftists, but I might be a Jimmy Dore left on other topics. That's why I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of Kim Iverson and Steve Bannon, somewhere in the middle. Kim Iverson is going to be another topic for another day too, though. I made this thread and doing this video because it's an important conversation to have. I've seen many comments like this who say, well, Tim self-censored himself. Well, what does that mean? What do you mean he self-censored himself? He's trying to make sure he still has a platform. He doesn't know what YouTube's going to do with the comment of unliving people. I know Ariel Pink didn't mean it like as in a bad way, but that doesn't matter. Tim doesn't have control of YouTube. And it's going through his head. You can see him fiddling with his fingers. I could see I know what his mind was thinking. I don't know all of it, but I do know some, in my opinion. I do know what he's thinking. He's thinking risk reward. And I listened to the after show. He had just warned Ariel Pink because he had a guest on the day before that on July 27th. I don't know who was it? On July 27th, I forget who it was. He was great. I think it was a writer or something like that. He was great. But he was using these political phrases like, that the aggressive phrase, like sometimes you talk about football and you talk about it in terms of war, but you're really just talking about a sport. They were talking about politics in those figurative ways without saying metaphorically, figuratively, I don't really mean it. I'm really peaceful. And I don't even think Tim realized it. I think that was why he was more focused on it with Ariel Pink. And Ariel Pink is a musician, but he's not good behind the mic. He's not confident behind the mic. He's not experienced talking behind the mic. And Tim Pool kind of saying, don't talk about war or that kind of stuff, might have even planted that in his head. So Tim has no idea what they're going to do. He has no idea what YouTube would do with that. First of all, Tim Pool is a general. I've criticized Tim Pool. I just did that video where I said Tim Pool does not talk about election integrity in the way that I would expect someone who's a critical thinker. He's afraid of the topic. He's not well read on the topic. He's not well researched on the topic. He hasn't really had anybody on his show that is very, he's had Kerry Lake, he's had Bannon. They aren't the most knowledgeable on the 2020 fortification that could have an in-depth conversation. So Tim Pool, in my opinion, has been very bad on the 2020 election. And the reason for that might be like you can't really talk about it on YouTube. And is he going to do a members only show on that? I don't know. So my point there is I am not against criticizing Tim Pool, but this ain't it. Like I'm not criticizing him for protecting his show. There's few people in the world who know YouTube terms of service better than Tim Pool. He's a YouTube vet. He's met with some of these people. He's got a high ranking channel, so he's got special treatment. He knows the rules. So it's going through his head, risk versus reward. And to me, Tim obviously made the right choice. What are some of the risks that are going through his head while he's fiddling his fingers? Complete elimination of his channel. That could happen. And crazy with like violence or something like that, they could just say, boom, done. So he could just have complete elimination of his channel right like that. So Tim has risks and reward. YouTube has risk and reward because you can ban Tim Pool, but will he take his audience to another platform? In the large scheme of things, does it matter to them or not? I don't know. But that's how you could get Rumble getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You've got Salty Cracker who takes people over there. You ban Tim Pool, he could go over there too. There's risk rewards on all sides. And Google, for a Tim Pool channel, they probably have to run that up pretty high if they're going to do a complete nuke. And they could still do a nuke now. They could do a nuke any day. They could do a nuke 2 years from now and say, remember July 28th, we're nuking your channel. Yes, they can. They can do that. I don't think they would do that, but they could. So some people were asking, well, why would he drop it? I think he thought he had a buffer that could have stopped it before it reached the air. And then also, you want to delete it to show YouTube we weren't trying to do anything bad, and he didn't even come back up with the stream. So that looks better for YouTube, like you deleted it. It's not like you left it up there. If his channel got nuked, his TimCast IRL, and Tim Pool all gone. If you nuked from YouTube, they don't let you create another channel to bypass the nuke. They should, at least. They shouldn't even be nuking channels, but at least, for these free speech reasons. But you're done. 3 channels, over 1 million subscribers each, bringing in revenue and reaching people on YouTube. And you think he's going to risk that over an Ariel Pink comment? It's not like he had Trump on. And if it was Trump, I think he would have had to keep it up, because it's just like, this isn't going to happen every day. I'm going to risk it for this interview. It was Ariel Pink. And the feedback from people, I didn't see any of it other than that clip. The feedback that I got from people who were watching it was like they weren't feeling the episode anyway. It was early on. Every episode can't be great. So it's like the episode's not great. The guests aren't really, it's not working. It's not like great. Maybe it could have got better, but it wasn't great. I'm risking all this. At the very worst, I'm risking a strike, a week ban from all his channels. TimCast, Tim Pool, TimCast IRL. If you get a strike on one channel, you cannot go to another channel. I hope Bryson Gray knows that. That's my dude. He has 2 strikes right now, and he's got multiple channels. If you get struck from the Bryson Gray, you can't go to the other one. They're nuking that too. They could probably go say, if you tried to bypass it, they could say you're gone from it all. Not coming, permaban. So yeah, if he gets his 2 strikes, if he gets another strike, he is permabanned. So all his channels are permabanned. He could come on another channel as a guest like Alex Jones. Alex Jones permabanned from YouTube. He can't create another channel to bypass it. He can be a guest though, which is kind of, I think is, I'm glad that they allowed that. He was just on with Michael Malice. I didn't get to watch it yet, but. So those are the risks. Let me see. Are you guys seriously, who thinks that it would be worth the risk to leave that comment up from Ariel Pink to risk all that? Yeah. Were you watching it? Bart and Bella? Maybe Bart and Bella could talk. You said they both looked drugged up and nervous. Man, until you get behind a mic, and I'm not talking about like perform, like he's a musician. So until you get behind a mic and start talking to people, and especially live, you have no idea how hard it is. You have no idea how much preparation it takes. Creators on the channel know. If you don't believe me, think of a topic you're going to talk about and plan a 5-minute video on it. Plan a 10-minute video or 2-minute video. So Ariel Pink, Alex Lee Moyer, they're not professional talkers. So you can freeze up, you can get nervous. So I don't know what was said before that clip, but there's no reward for that risk. It's just not worth it. We need Tim Pool on YouTube. We don't need, people are like, well, Tim, just go to Rumble. He's got his own site. He's doing that now. Why would you give up the ground on YouTube? Just like Salty Cracker, his channel's demonetized. Why would you give up the views on YouTube that could help you with the other platforms until you can get a bigger reach? This is an informational civil war. If you give up the big platforms, Jordan Peterson, like talking about, oh, I'm not deleting the tweet about Elliot Page. Why aren't you deleting the tweet about Elliot Page? We out here trying to reach people, trying to get better, trying to figuratively, win this political tension and battle. This is a fight for our Western culture, for beliefs, for our children, and you're not entering that fray on Twitter over an Elliot Page comment that was sus to begin with. So what that shows me is, do you, Jordan Peterson, what that shows me is that your goal is not the same as my goal. So when we intersect, I'll big you up and talk about you, but you don't have the same goal that I do. That's not your goal. Your goal is not to win this political tension in the world. That ain't your goal. Bryson Gray, you got to stay low. A strike is 6 months, I believe. He's got 2. You got to stay low until they both go off. So that was about Bryson Gray. If corporate Democrats and the GOP suffer losses in the midterm, especially the Democrats, they will blame social media platforms for misinformation. That's what the J6 hearing, they set that up for that. Tim Pool did nothing but read the news. He didn't promote it like I believe in this J6 rally or anything like that. Donald Trump was talking about it and reported the news, and they put him up here on the committee, the J6 committee, the threat to democracy, for saying what?
2021.
And now Donald Trump is calling on his supporters to descend on Washington, D.C.
He's saying the most benign, innocuous, like, okay, that's what he said. Like, what is that? That's a threat to social media companies. Salty Crackers comments on there. That's a threat to Google to say, basically, they're the ones housing this, hosting this. The J6 hearing, in my opinion, is an indirect threat. It's a threat to Google and any social media company to permaban or get rid of Tim Pool, Salty Cracker, just like you did mixing them up with Alex Jones. Get rid of them. That's what that was about. Imagine if you were the one that hosted, say you're the guy that hosts the Tim Pool servers for him to do his show. Pretend there's no Google. And Tim Pool's huge, big, and you're the one that has the servers that host his TV show, and then they put Tim Pool on the J6 committee as some type of evil person, defaming him, in my opinion. That's an attack on you. You're the one hosting them. So this is getting heightened awareness, heightened threats. That's why he had to stop it. You can tell he's stressed out. He even, I think, admitted that in the after show. He's got to be on his P's and Q's. Everything's got to be buttoned up. He's platforming Peter Navarro, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Cass Patel. Like, these are names that Google probably flags just for me saying their names. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I would guess they do. He's he's platforming like MAGA. He's bringing like Marjorie Taylor Greene's idea. He's humanizing Marjorie Taylor Greene. You don't think the cabal's concerned about that? You don't think the cabal will turn in a comment from some random guest of his into something that he did wrong? Do you see what they did on the J6 committee? He had no choice. He just had the former AG under Trump, who was AG for like 4 months or something like that. But what was his? Is it Matt Christensen or something like that? What's his name? It was like a flash in the pan. Like he was like barely there. The former Trump AG. I think it's Matt Whitaker. So he's housing like all these Trump-friendly things. He's got a target on his back. If he hadn't pulled that video, you know that on Twitter they would have been like, look at this, just like the Ethan Klein thing. Ethan Klein, I believe, got a strike for, he went off the rails, but he got a strike, and he probably would have avoided it if he would have just taken the video down. More money, more problems. Tim Pool talked about that. GB, thank you for the comment. More money, more problems. And that's true. Tim Pool in the after show mentioned this. He said, paraphrasing because I don't have the exact quote here. He said, I was more profitable when it was just me, no crew, no 30 employees, no compound, and I was doing YouTube videos. He said, I could just do that and relax and chill. I'm trying to build up. I'm trying to turn this into a bill. He's really talking about the Daily Wire a lot. And he's trying to get bigger and bigger. And his profit is less now. So yeah, it is more money, more problems. That's when you get lawyers involved. All kind. Eric July has beef with PayPal. It's much love and success to the Rippaverse. He didn't do anything wrong, but it is more money, more problems. He's got PayPal is withholding over $1 million from him. Now they said they're going to pay it back day by day after holding it for like 60 days or something like that. But he's getting lawyers involved. So more money, more problem, more lawyers. The person who won the Mega Millions, I think was it one ticket over a bill? They're going to have great, you can fantasize about what you do with the money. They're going to have problems too. So that's legit. He got different problems. And it does make you disconnected. I'm going to get into that with SavSays. So if you saw Savannah Hernandez mentioned in the title, I will get to that. Because I'm leaving that for a little bit later because it goes off topic. And I don't want to go off topic just yet. So nothing against Ariel Pink. I'm not trying to knock Ariel Pink. I don't have beef. I don't know his music. His music isn't my cup of tea. But, he struggled. But here's an interview. If you don't know Ariel Pink, let's take a little break and listen to this video. Let me know if there's any echoing. I'm really paranoid about that now. But this is him about a year ago on with Tucker.
Ariel Pink is a musician from Los Angeles and a Trump voter. On January 6th, he attended the president's speech in Washington. Then he went back to his hotel room and took a nap. He did not go to the Capitol. He participated in no violence whatsoever. He's opposed to violence. But what he did was a crime. He attended a political rally, and now he has been stripped of his livelihood. Pink's music label, Mexican Summer, dropped him completely. They wrote this on Twitter, quote, "Due to recent events, Mexican Summer and its staff have decided to end our working relationship with Ariel Rosenberg, aka Ariel Pink, moving forward." It's a moment that tells you a lot about where we are and where we're going. So we sat down with Ariel Pink a moment ago and had this conversation. So you're an artist. Artists do transgressive things. You did the most transgressive thing. You came out as a public Trump supporter, and then you went to a Trump rally. What happened next?
I went to the White House to see our president and went to the hotel, took a nap, and the story.
When did you find out that your career had been destroyed?
Well, about 2 days later. By that point, my label had written me already to inform me that they were getting a lot of heat and a lot of backlash for supporting me, and they reassured me that they were not going to drop me.
They always reassure you first, don't they?
And and I was just like, I didn't make any apologies. I felt like I hadn't done anything. So, but these articles obviously placed me at the siege.
Yes.
Which I was not at. So, and of course I don't advocate for violence.
Of course not.
At all. In any walk of life.
And just to be clear, you committed no violence while in Washington.
Of course not. I mean, I was there for a peaceful rally. And that's all it was to me.
Yes.
And but there was no fact checking or anything like that. These 130 articles went out in the course of 24 hours, and just the backlash was just so they succumbed to cancel culture. So basically, that's.
So what did your label say after reassuring you they weren't going to drop you? What happened then?
Well, then 24 hours later, they wrote back saying that they texted me, telling me that they were going to go public and drop me at that point.
So if you're a recording artist, which you are, and you can't record, what does that mean?
Well, and I can't tour either at this point, so it pretty much leaves me destitute and on the street. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of overwhelmed right now, and I don't know exactly what to do, but.
So for going to a political rally, not participating in violence, not seeing any violence, not even being aware there was violence when you went to bed in your hotel, for that, your career disappeared in one day.
Yeah, that's
Your livelihood gone.
yeah, that's and no apologies, no support. I mean, my family's been getting death threats. They don't even know that I'm here. I had to sneak away because they were so terrified of me coming on TV. They've been getting it all week. Me too. I mean, the hate is just overwhelming, and there's new articles being written. Just people are so mean.
You've lived in this country all your life. Do you recognize it?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm terrified. I mean, this is what I voted against.
Right.
I mean, I didn't vote so much for Trump as against cancel culture and this environment that's been blazing for about 4 years, but is about to ramp up and get even worse.
So I'm just so struck by the fact that you are not a political person. You did not sign up for this. Are you worried that it will destroy you as a person?
No, I'm not so worried about that. I mean, I've been canceled before. I've been canceled many times. I know how the whole thing works. It doesn't really affect my ego.
Yes.
Which isn't to say it doesn't hurt my feelings. It does.
Yeah.
But I know that it's not real. So I just I've got family. I've got a small group around me that sort of keeps me centered, and I also believe in myself. I know I didn't do anything wrong, so there's no reason why I should feel more remorseful about this.
Amen. So you know how unreasonable and scary and punitive a moment this is. You're taking a huge risk coming on the show. Why are you doing it?
I don't have any other recourse. Like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to be able to get my statement out in magazines? I mean, who's right now the narrative is being pushed, and there's not very many people that are going to let a counter narrative enter into the fold. I mean, there's no nuance. There's no kind of I don't know what I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You had no choice, basically, if you want to tell your story.
I had no choice. I had no choice. There's nothing else for me to do. I can't even afford my lawyer right now. So.
Last question. What do you think the purpose of all of this is?
Well, I think it's desperation and fear that's driving this whole thing. I think there's been a very, very big effort to unseat the president, or at least not let him have 4 more years, which I think is fair. I mean, he lost, and I think he lost fairly. I'm not disputing anything. Biden is perfectly fine with me as president. But I think that there was just I think that they're still scared or something like that. It seems like they're sole winners at this point, and people seem to want to kick me down as well, much like they have Trump. Kick us down when we're down. I don't think I believe that they're. I don't even know what. I don't know what the future is with regards to Trump, but I think it's. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that.
They're sore winners.
They're sore winners. Yeah.
Good luck. When reasonable people like you are destroyed, all of us should take notice. And so I appreciate you telling your story. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Tucker's on point as usual. He asked, "Why did this? Why do you think this happened?" When reasonable people like you get destroyed, targeted, then we got to take note. I agree. So there's some comments here. Mega Badoink has been talking here about Tim, and comment here says Ariel struggled, and that's what bugged Tim. I don't think that helped. So I will agree that did not help. But I've seen guests struggle on the show before, though. And Tim is not afraid to just turn it into it's the Tim show. So he was a little irked, a little stressed. I think before I finish reading the comment, I made the suggestion a while back. Tim take Fridays off. I think he should take Fridays off of TimCast IRL, and in his place have Pop Culture Crisis host it and do a full-blown Pop Culture Crisis show, or Tales from the Inverted World, or whoever else. Because he wants to promote his other channels. So I think you would do is it Jamie, the comedian on there that's helping with Cast Castle. I think he could use Fridays for promotional purposes. He doesn't do an after show on Fridays. Let them do that. Let them do a Friday show. You take a break. Do you know how much work it takes to do? I don't know the whole inner workings of what he does. I do follow his show very quick. It's a lot to be as knowledgeable on things as he is. It's a lot. He's basically living, breathing this stuff 24/7. For a while back, one of my favorite times on the channel, I was doing a show live. I don't know if it was for a week or a couple weeks. Every day at like 4, around 4 Mountain, 5 Mountain time. And my wife was like, "You can't do that anymore." She's like, "No, you can't do that anymore, bro." She was like, "You can't do that anymore." Because the prep, she's like, it's nonstop. It's not just the hour or two that you're on the show. It's like the whole time before and after that you're prepping, listening, taking notes, clipping. It's too much. It's a lot. So continuing on with the comment, Ariel struggled, and that's what bugged Tim. He was boring, but Tim should be a better host because he already invited him. Trolls have rights too, and it's funny to watch conservatives bend over backwards. So are we saying that Ariel Pink was a troll? I think he was out of it. He didn't have any ideology from the clip I saw. I didn't see enough. But was he trolling? That can happen. He didn't mention that in the after show, though. I think it really was just about the comment. And then, obviously, the fact that he was doing this, it wasn't great. Besides that, did not help. I agree. Tim famously pulled the R.A. the Rugged Man show. That's where they had beef. But he didn't pull it from YouTube because of the beef. He pulled it because R.A. the Rugged Man said salty cracker. He used that term salty cracker without the salty. And Tim was like, "I can't have this up on YouTube," and pulled it. He would have loved to have kept that on YouTube. That would have been one of his higher, recorded live shows to watch over again. So I believe him completely on that. That's not a show you would want to pull from YouTube. Believe me, probably would have had over 1 million views. But the thing is, the longer you keep a show on YouTube, YouTube can go back to any one of your videos in the past. I've talked about this with other creators. They can go to any video in your past and say, "You said this 2 years ago, strike now." They can absolutely do that. It's happened to Kim Iverson. It happened to the Convo Couch. I've considered, because those videos get no views for me anyway. So it's all risk, no reward. But I don't think I've deleted any of my old, not one. Even the ones where I've changed my mind. I was a lot softer when this channel started. I'm still in the middle, but I'm like, I've discovered myself. I was an AOC supporter. I always talk about that when the channel started. So let me just tell you that. And I left all those videos up. You can go back and see them. But it is a risk. So I'm looking at the comments, seeing what people are thinking. Not Me says any excuse they can muster to take down Tim would benefit the midterms for the left. He knows this. It's as simple as that. Yes. So let's get on to the SavSays part of this. I saw this. Came out today. I think it came out today with Chrissy Mayer. Before I get to that, this was an article by Taylor Lorenz. I actually am giving Taylor Lorenz props. This article was good. She was talking about why creators have changed their language, basically. People say unalive instead of dead. They see SA instead of the other term. They don't want the algorithm to pick it up. The AI is what monitors this live. There's so many people with so many videos going live and videos up. They have to use, there's no way you can hire enough humans to listen to everything. The AI does voice to text, and if you say the wrong thing, boom, gone. We'd rather err on the side of caution. People are changing their language over this. Creators. She said users have come up with their own language to create a brand-safe lexicon that will avoid getting their posts removed or downranked by content moderation systems. And that's actually where Taylor Lorenz should be writing pieces like that. The problem is they're getting her out of her expertise. The only thing she should be doing for the Washington Post, as far as that she does well, to my opinion, is these type of pieces. Little video game things, little funny tech things, little interesting tech things. That's it. You get her outside of that realm, she's awful. Obviously, famously doxed libs of TikTok. All these crazy incidents with people who should be locked up in an insane asylum, and we see their YouTube or their social media, and there's all these signs. The Uvalde shooter, there's all these signs of these people being loco. So now you can see the social media is going to crack down. There's so many different reasons for them to flag and to crack down. So let's go to Savs. Savs, I have nothing but respect to Savs. You could argue that I'm not even worthy enough to even talk about this, is because the work that she's put in, the risk she's put in, the reputation at such fairly young age for doing as much as she's done. But the reason why I want to do this is because I think I have a perspective that could help the bigger picture. Let's see. She went ham on Tim Cruise when she was on with Chrissy Mayer. I was like, whoa. She says she can't stand people in this space, ... reading off headlines and being a narcissist. That was clearly in reference to Tim Pool.
Most of their shows.
I haven't heard anything about echoing, so I'll keep going. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Most of their shows are fine and go off without a hitch. We missed, people were talking about Tim Pool shut off his stream yesterday after like 20 minutes or so because they were talking about censorship and a guest was like, oh, you can't, the only way to fully censor somebody is to but he said the words, so then they had to shut it down because
oh my gosh,
algorithm.
Classic Tim.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like someone in his position is under a lot of stress and he's got a lot of people working for him and a lot of people want to see him tank. So it's probably
maybe.
Really? Okay. What?
Nothing.
So Savs is, if you don't know Savannah Hernandez, go sub to her channel, SavSays, SavSays. Former worked with Alex Jones back in the day. She is a street journalist, and I would just label her a patriot and extremely bright and just one of the best creators, social media minds out there. She just did this piece. Maybe I'll play it later if I could go. I haven't done a live in a minute, so I might be on here for a minute. She did a piece where she went around the streets of New York. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff. Showing people what she's seen on the streets of New York from the mouth of people. So if you don't know her, Chrissy Mayer is a comedian, a stand-up comedian. I would call her a patriot as well. And she hosted that Minds event that happened recently. She actually references that here a little bit. If you don't know who they are, I respect the heck out of both of them. Chrissy Mayer is hilarious, unbelievable. She does some really funny stuff. She talks about comics and stuff too. But so Savs, so she brings up Tim Pool, and you can see Savs has some expression going on. I don't think Chrissy picked up on it. At this moment, it came up, and then Chrissy Mayer was like, "Wait, what? You got beef with Tim?" And that's what we're going to hear.
He wasn't my favorite. That's all I'll say.
Do you think a lot of people, their criticism of him, and I did his show last March, I felt a little bit like, oof, like it's obviously nerve-wracking to be there. But he very much likes, his style is like, I think he likes to be the lead. Whereas if I'm interviewing somebody, I want to hear from them more so than like lead the conversation. So I've had that criticism that it's like, it's basically like, it's the Tim show and you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, when I was on with him, he was talking about how much he sacrificed and how the NCAA athletes got what they deserved with Leah Thomas beating them out. And so I was basically telling him, because he was like screaming into the ether about how none of them were speaking out. And I was like, Tim, maybe if you had asked why I'm here, the reason I am here is because I just got deleted. And Tucker Carlson played this interview on his show because I interviewed the one NCAA athlete that did speak out against
You
Leah
talked
Thomas.
to her. Yeah.
And
you're the
guess
only
what?
person who I saw talking to college athletes.
Yeah, and I was like, and guess what? It got censored and deleted off of Twitter. So maybe these women are trying to speak out, but they're being censored and silent. So maybe you should use your platform to highlight these women instead of highlighting yourself and shitting on them. I don't know. I just really can't stand people in this space who are like, oh, I've sacrificed so much. I've done this and that. Like, okay, congratulations. What are you doing now? Reading off headlines and being a narcissist? Congratulations.
I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because the more successful you becomes more responsibility. Maybe you have more employees, but at the same time, you don't want to lose your edge. You don't want to.
I just don't have.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't have any empathy for any of these people in the right wing who are like, "Oh, I don't want to get censored off YouTube." Okay, Alex Jones runs a business with over 100 employees, and he's dealing with multiple lawsuits, and he's about to get shut down, and he's still doing it. So I have no sympathy for anybody else who's crying and being pathetic in the right wing, who's saying, "Oh, we need to make a change. We need to stand up. We need to be base," and then they're capitulating to YouTube. But that's just
So I want to stop it right there. Got to stop it there. She went hard at Tim, and I don't have a problem with anything there except when she went to the narcissist card, and she didn't directly say Tim Pool. She said, "I hate people in this," something about people in this space. But we're talking about Tim Pool, so you're going to have to, if that's not what you meant, you will definitely have to clear that up. Because that's what Tim Pool does. He does way more than reading headlines, but that's part of it. That's the reputation. So, Savs, Alex Jones messed up. And I don't think you've learned from that, if this is your take. Alex Jones messed up. I support Alex Jones. I absolutely support Alex Jones. He shouldn't have been banned. It's un-American. It's inexcusable. But he's off the major platforms now because he was not careful enough. And that's what Tim Pool was doing. And that's what Chrissy asked you. She didn't ask you about his takes on the Leah Thomas. The problem I have with Savs here is Tim Pool does not hate you. This vitriol, you can give Tim the feedback that I agree with her on the feedback. Tim was out of touch. He was disagreeable. I'll play maybe a little clip from that episode that she's referring to. I just re-listened to the whole episode just to remember, because I didn't remember really what happened. I remember in general. But then I was like, oh, okay. She did get enough time to talk. A lot of people were saying Tim has had those moments. Remember with Robert Barnes, the first time Viva and Barnes came on, Tim Pool was awful. He just couldn't stop talking. Robert Barnes is the smartest guy in the room, and that might be it. Tim, and I think that's what happened when he had Savs and Elijah on. They're very smart. I think Tim, when somebody's on the show that's very knowledgeable, very smart, I don't want to say he feels threatened by it, but there might be a little bit of insecurity there. I'm just guessing. But he had Robert Barnes on there they had came from Canada with all the kind of the rules going on with that thing. And Tim didn't. I mean, Robert Barnes has to be more aggressive, but Tim, you gotta kind of bring Robert into the conversation. Robert Barnes is not a guy who's going to be like aggressive to overtalk you to get into a conversation. He's going to be like, you probably, if you're not leaving room for me, you don't want to hear from me. I'm bringing that up to say, I agree. Tim Pool talks too much. We know that. Nobody's perfect. When you do interviews, that's a hard thing. Now, Tim's an experience, so there's no excuse there, but it is very hard doing interviews. You've got to learn how much to talk, when to talk, how to bring stuff out. But in my opinion, Savs had plenty of talk. He let them talk. I agree. Tim's take, I'll play it later, was cringe on Leah Thomas. He put more onus on the swim team, the college athletes, saying they've got to speak up or I'm not speaking up for you. That's cringe. Bruh, you have a platform. It's more responsibility for even myself. I don't have obviously anything close to Tim Pool, but I've spent the time to get on here. It is if I am going to speak against the ideology, and I don't even speak against it from a standpoint of hate. I have nothing against Leah Thomas, but we have to be able to say, well, what are the requirements for someone to compete with women? Is this the right thing? That's a fair question to ask. And I'm going to ask that question whether the college athletes speak up or not. But that has nothing to do with Ariel Pink. That has nothing to do with TimCast protecting his property, his show that he worked for. You must be crazy for me to say Tim should have let the show keep going on. That's his show that he worked for, not your show. I can say that, but I'm not going to I agree with Tim. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying hypothetically, you can say whatever you want to say, but that's his show. So Savs did that, and Alex Jones should be on the main platforms. If you were more careful like Tim Pool, he wouldn't be Alex Jones. If Bryson Gray was more careful, if Steven Crowder was more careful, they wouldn't be themselves. But they would also still have a platform, though. And Alex Jones has done fine. But it's not Tim's time to just be off of YouTube. And that's his decision to make when it's his time to be off YouTube. If he was like, you know what? I'm at the point where I got these other things going. If they nuke me, they nuke me. That's his decision. That's not his censorship. That's the invalid First Amendment rights, the government bonding with, forming a unregulated branch of the government, which is the corporate press and social media. That's the problem, not Tim Pool. So I'll stop that there. Go visit Chrissy Mayer's site. It's on. So I think it's her most recent YouTube upload, at least from today. She talked about the Tim Pool thing too. So yeah, here's the thing. So this, I do see your comments. Thanks, fat, old, hideous guy. I'll digress because you know what I thought about when I was reading fat, old, hideous guy? I was thinking about myself. Honestly, I got the most recent Brave books from Zuby. I subscribe to Brave Books. My kids love the Brave books. If you don't know it, there's this company that does a different book every month. You can subscribe to it, and they get people to write it, and they write it with them. And the kids books. And this one's about like eating healthy and working out. And I recently took a picture, and I was kind of looking at it. I was like, "Who's that guy?" I was kind of looking at it. It's me. I'm the only black guy in the picture, so I'm looking at it like, "Who's that guy with the big belly?" It was me. Oh man. And I'm working out, man. I'm getting back to the gym. Like I can't do this. I can't do this anymore, man. Now back in my heyday, I saw like Al Bundy on Married with Children. I was in shape back in my heyday. I was working out, man. I was benching and everything. Like it was cool. And then it, just fell out of it. Didn't do it. I'm getting back into it. That ain't a question. So when I saw that fat old, I was like, and not in a negative self-hating way, but in a Like you got to get right way. And my wife's been hitting the gym. She's been getting right. So it's like, you can't, you know, like you can't, I've already outkicked my coverage. If you've heard that phrase before, you don't want to get it too out of hand because then it's like, I don't know. For me, it's like a little uncomfortable. Like if your spouse or significant other is going to be stepping their game up, you might want to come along. So I'm early in my journey of getting back on it. The first thing that comes to mind, did anybody see that? I'm digressing for a second. That the Elon Musk pictures that came out. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Let me get it up here real quick. Elon Musk, this tweet had me literally in tears. The reason why I'm thinking about it is because I'm thinking about physique. Let me share this real quick. It's such a simple tweet and it's so hilarious, and I'll wrap up the Sav and the whole Sav stuff. There's somebody tweets here about Elon Musk. Never in my life have I seen a physique like this. This is Elon Musk. Oh my goodness. It's he's looking kind of pasty. I don't know what's going on, bro. And honestly, my physique's not looking much different. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So, fat old hideous guy. You talking about Elon Musk? Fat old idiot guy said Steven Crowder is more based than Tim and TP USA. TP USA is pretty based. Where are they lacking? Charlie Kirk and company. Where are they lacking? They're not abrasive, but I think they're based. I think they're more based than your Shapiro, and Tim is what he is. Like Tim tries to tell people, I'm not a conservative. I'm a lefty. He's a lefty skateboard dude. That's what he is. So understand, like, I love Jimmy Dore. I know what he is, so I don't go into it like, oh, Bannon is more based than Jimmy Dore. I already know where Jimmy's coming from. They're both based on different things. Crowder's great, though. I'm not going to say he's more based than Poole, but I see your point. I see your point. He's got that. Oh, he's commenting on Elon Musk. He's got that gamer complexion. That bro might be a gamer. He, when he was young, he created a video game. Like he gets no sun, and he's just on the computer all day. I don't know what game he's playing right now. I don't know if it's Grand Theft Auto or what. But that physique is crazy. Yep. So here's the thing, Mega Badoink. I still think he's a left. I still think he's a liberal, a classic liberal, is what I'm saying. So classic liberals believe in free speech. They believe in some identity politics. He does believe in a little bit of identity politics. He's like me. He does believe in. No, he doesn't believe in UBI. I don't know where he stands on Medicare for all, but he does believe in some social safety nets within reason. He's anti-war. He's a classic liberal. So by lefty, he's not a corporate leftist, but anyone who's not a corporate leftist is a right wing now. And the problem is they forced him into that lane, and he's not right wing. Charles Wagner says Crowder is a great balance because he has a great sense of humor. Yeah, that's something that I'm very envious of. That's a talent. Tim Pool's funny too, though. Not like Crowder, but Crowder has David Landau on there, and Quarterback Garrett doesn't do jokes too much or anything like that. But you got, I think Dave's funnier to me than Crowder. But Dave has that role where he's kind of like in that Ed McMahon role where he can just put in the jokes. But yeah, they're great. Yeah, they forced Rogan is left too. He's a classic liberal. When I say left, I mean liberal. Believes in liberty, believes in the Constitution. Jason, is it Hickel or Hinkle? He's great too. His channel got nuked or demonetized on YouTube for talking about the Ukraine stuff. These are classic liberals. Joe Rogan is a liberal. He actually said he would vote for Michelle Obama. So that's corporate leftist. But the thing is, he's more of a liberal, and because of that, he's a right winger. Crenshaw is way off. Dan Crenshaw? Oh, he's trash. Yeah. He's people calling him Rhino, whatever you want to call him. He is not that deal, Dan Crenshaw. I've talked about him on the channel. He's not a populist. So that's what happened with Savs. And I'm going to end with this on the whole Savs thing. Her work speaks for itself. But again, Tim is not your enemy. Save that for people who hate you, not people who platform you. I could say, I provided criticism that Savs could have been more aggressive. No, she was pretty much aggressive enough. I said, Tim's not perfect. I talked about the Robert Barnes thing. I would bet money, even after Savs going nuclear on Tim, I would bet my whole wallet Tim would offer to have her back on at some point and give her more shine and talk about it. I bet money on it. So here's a little clip from the episode. See, that's why I wanted to save it for last, because she takes it off topic of the Ariel Pink stuff, but I'm done with that now. But here's a clip from it. This is not to diss Tim, because this is not one of Tim's finer moments. Let's just say that. Okay, so this is not to diss Tim, but just this a clip of what Savannah Hernandez was talking about.
Weak and pathetic. There's so many spineless rhinos in our Congress right now, in our just political space as a whole. They're so spineless, they're so pathetic, and the reason why conservatism as a whole has completely deteriorated is because people like Matt Schlapp, who's supposed to be the creator of the Conservative Political Action Committee, is coming forward and saying, oh, Leah Thomas's journey, we really need to have empathy about it because, her story is important. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Conservatism is pathetic in the modern day.
Well, it is. I agree with that, but I also agree with what Matt was saying. If these women at the NCAA don't care to speak up, if none of their family members will speak up, then they deserve whatever their experience.
But see, that's not what Matt was saying. Matt was saying that he thinks that we should have empathy towards Leah Thomas. I completely disagree. Again, I'm not a female athlete.
Yeah, not a good moment from Tim. He didn't have full command of the take. That was not Matt Schlapp's take.
But I also agree with what Matt was saying. If these women at the NCAA don't care to speak up, if none of their family members will speak up, then they deserve whatever their experience.
But see, that's not what Matt was saying. Matt was saying that he thinks that we should have empathy towards Leah Thomas. I completely disagree. Again, I'm not a female athlete. I'm not the one that should be protesting. You and I were actually talking about this before the start of the show. Why did these females even compete with Thomas? Why didn't
because
these
they
females?
like it.
Sav, it's because you have to be at least this tall to play professional sports. So
this really this is one of the most frustrating things to me, because the NCAA women have publicly come out and agreed with Leah Thomas and supported her. And the only person so far to come out complaining is the person who got bumped by one space. 16th place.
But that got deleted.
So here's again. So what's going to happen here is, so Tim said the only person that spoke out was this one person. Then Savs actually talked to another person. She tried to put it up on Twitter and talk about it. Tucker gave her a segment. But what Savs is saying, it's more than what people are trying to speak out, but they're censoring Savs, the person that would help them speak out. And Tim never acknowledges it.
What teammate?
So that is who I interviewed last week. That's the news we broke. Tucker Carlson played it on his show. Her teammate, Rose Powell.
So Tim's doing so much work, you can't listen. If you could have the time to listen back to every episode, when I used to do a hip-hop show in Dearborn, Michigan, 89.3, we're making waves, Henry Ford Community College. And I still do that with all these shows. I listen back. listen to the cringe moments when you're cringe, and you almost like you're watching film in a sporting event. Tim is talking about only one person spoke out. Savs, you can see Savs is excited to be able to say, yeah, that's why I'm on the show, to talk about the other people who are speaking out, the person who I spoke to. She was actually happy. You can see her get happy there. And Tim isn't in tune with what's happening. And I really put the blame, I don't know who else was on that. Ian was there. Yeah, Ian was. So Ian's got to be in tune with that. And it's hard for Lydia Smith. She's doing the camera work and all that other stuff because she's the one that really tries to help people who are shelled come out. But she could also help here. This is the area Savs is passionate in. Tim, I don't care about your take as much right now. He did a segment on this earlier that same day, I think. We don't need to hear you anymore on his other channel. Highlight this. Oh, what was that about, Savs? Tell me more. Oh, this is why I hate censorship. And instead, Tim's more about trying to get his point across. So don't get me wrong. Savs is right. Elijah Schaefer is on there. He is more right than Tim Pool. But at the end of the day, Tim gave them a platform. These are two people who have been canceled, ostracized. Tim gave them a chance to speak. That's what matters. No need. You can provide feedback. There's a difference between providing feedback and going scorched earth. You should only be going scorched earth against your political enemies. That is not Tim. We can't beat the cabal without being able to give feedback and say, Tim, you messed up on this, in my opinion, and not going scorched earth. And a testament to Tim, I don't think he takes any of that stuff personally. He would have them back on the show, in my opinion.
So did your
16th place.
teammate, but that got deleted.
What teammate?
So that is who I interviewed last week. That's the news we broke. Tucker Carlson played it on his show. Her teammate, Rose Pouch, she spoke out on behalf of her, said her teammate was crying.
Oh, right,
because
but she
was
wasn't in the
17.
finals either, right?
No, she was in the finals. She got first
Oh, okay.
place.
See, Tim's talking about, so Tim's more worried about if he's right or not. Tim, that's not, it happens. He's talking about the people who are in the finals spoke out, and he's like, well, oh, the one you spoke with wasn't, who cares? Other than you to prove that you were right, it doesn't matter. The point is, there are people who are trying to speak out, and Elijah's going to get in. This is a good clip. Elijah, they had a it was like 20 minutes. I clipped it to 4. Elijah comes in too. This is episode 493. TimCast episode 493 as a reference. And I'll put in the link if you want to go back to it or save it or whatever. But let me continue it here.
Things to me because the NCAA women have publicly come out and agreed with Leah Thomas and supported her. And the only person who didn't, the only person so far to come out complaining is the person who got bumped by one space. 16th
So did your teammate,
place.
but that got deleted.
What teammate?
So that is who I interviewed last week. That's the news we broke. Tucker Carlson played it on his show. Her teammate, Rose Pouch, she spoke out on behalf of her, said her teammate was crying.
Oh, right,
because
but she wasn't in the
17.
finals either, right?
No, she was in the finals. She got first
Oh, okay.
place in the 200-yard free. She spoke out against Leah Thomas because she watched her teammate cry as Thomas took that final spot. Again, I can't pronounce her name correctly.
Rekha Georgi?
Yes, that's her name. She was a
Okay, well, I can
fifth-year
respect
senior.
someone coming out and actually speaking up.
Yes, so
if
that's
they are
what
men.
I'm saying, Tim. So it's like it's not that all of these athletes aren't speaking out; it's that they're being completely silenced. Now we made national news with that; it's completely been deleted off of Twitter. You can't find it anywhere. All of the national news articles that were linked to her interview completely gone
Right.
now.
Well,
What's your point?
My point is, as I'm saying, people always try to complicate things. A lot of
I clipped that. He did not say what's your point to after Sav's end. So I gotta be careful. It was 20 minutes. I had to clip it somewhere. He did not respond to Savs at that moment with what's your point. He responded to Elijah Schaefer, and he'll continue here.
a lot of these swimmers are put in a tough position that their scholarships might ride on.
So just to reset, the debate is you've got the college swimmers at, I believe it's UPenn, and they're not saying much. Only a couple people coming out. Parents aren't really coming out. You send your kids to UPenn, it's almost like you're working in corporate America. You've got to go. If you're not going to go with what the company wants to do, then you've got to quit. And it's the same thing with UPenn. That's where they want to go with the universities and the mixing in transgendered athletes. You speak out against that, you really got to drop out. You're going to be canceled. That's the threat. No different than Tim having to pull his, live stream down. So I'm with Savs and Elijah all the way on this. They both have good points. You've got to speak out to have any rights in our country, but listen to Elijah here.
It might come from impoverished families.
Too bad.
Listen, and maybe just maybe when you're focused on breaking generational like wealth gaps and you go to a nice school and you're trying to swim and get your family out of that poverty, that idea of getting out of poverty is more important to you than a social issue like transgenders, and you don't know what to do. So what's happening in our world is no matter who's out there, we are demanding of them to be political activists. What should be happening is this discussion should be happening at a senior level with administrators and with individuals who are put in those political positions to try to debate whether something is ethical. But the swimmers themselves, I don't blame them for not knowing what to do, because like that girl who was scared, these are genuine people who are going, even if I speak out, will it change anything? And they can't afford what you and me do.
No, we're stopping right there, bro. I am sick and tired of hearing about spineless people who don't stand up for themselves, who think they're entitled to everything. That's one of the big issues I have with the left. They come out and they say, we should get free college, we should get free that. I shouldn't have to do anything for it. These swimmers won't come out. Their dads won't come out. Their moms won't come out. Now, there was one woman who spoke anonymously, and then you come here and you say, they don't have all of this, bro. Not only did I come...
So Tim got triggered a little bit. The episode wasn't really contentious. He was unnecessarily disagreeable from the start. I don't know what that was, but I think what triggered Tim there was Elijah saying they don't have all of this. And I think Tim has kind of struggled with, like, he's out of touch a little bit. And I think he struggled with that. It's almost like Kanye West. He's not college dropout Kanye West anymore. This isn't Tim Pool in Kenosha or wherever, some civil unrest is happening. And he still wants to kind of be that. And he's lost touch with, they don't want to be canceled, Tim. You've got a platform, Tim. You don't agree with the ideology. You can speak out against it. Now, if you want to say they have to speak out, I'm not going to go to UPenn and protest for them. That's not going to happen. But I can give a different perspective on my platform. That's what you can do, Tim. So Tim got triggered. You can see his voice is elevated. This is why Savs was sour on Tim at the moment. At that moment, she was on with Chrissy.
I'm from the gutter. But I've consistently stood up for my values. I've had people on this show who have been censored over and over again, and I know there are hard limitations because there are certain things that's difficult for either you or I to talk about on our shows. But I quit a corporate gig. I tried to break a contract worth millions of dollars because they wanted me to do woke BS. Now, for me, I'm not saying anybody has to have my back on that. I'm saying I take care of myself. I don't think I'm entitled to or owed anything. So when I'm at a company and they say, you want the money we're paying you? We have you under contract? You're going to do woke stuff. I said, no, I won't. And they said, well, you better. And I said, I guess I'll just sit here or you can break my contract.
Elijah,
I said, we got to give them some time
they
to
don't
figure
want
this
to be
out.
political activists. They want to be able to just focus on their sport. I completely agree with what you're saying, Tim, but I also think that this is your passion. This is your career, right? Swimming is those girls' passion. They don't want to be political activists. The big reason why their parents don't want to speak out for them is because the daughters ask the parents, hey, you know what? Just don't do it. I don't want to face the repercussion. I don't want the NCAA coming after me. The NCAA told these athletes, don't mention Leah Thomas's name in the locker room. Do not speak to any media. So the fact that I even got that interview, that's why it went so viral, because the NCAA has been silencing these women. I understand what you're saying, Tim, because I'm the exact same way. I'm hardline and I say stand up for your rights, stand up for your country, or you will lose everything. But at the same time, we do have to remember we're in this spot because not everybody is a political activist, unfortunately.
Based. It was great moment. So part of my point of playing that is to show Savs had a chance to state her case. Tim was just off, and there's no need to go nuclear on Tim. We can disagree on that. There are certain things, Tim, I talked about the election. I cringe when he talks about the election. He's very bad on that, not knowledgeable. He's knowledgeable, and the part that makes me frustrated is he's so knowledgeable on so many different areas, and in the election he's like, some people say he's knowledgeable all over the place, but an inch deep. I don't know. He's knowledgeable all over the place, and he's inches deep. He's very knowledgeable, but on the election he's not. And this take is cringy, but it's an opinion. You still got a platform. That video has over 400,000 views. How many people can Savs go to get an equivalent exposure? I don't know. So I'll get that. That's all I had to say on the whole Tim Pool situation. Thanks for the comments. I'm going to look at some more comments here. Mega Badoink is, the comments are standing out. That's why I'm picking them. I'm just looking for random comments right now. That's what upsets me. He asked middle to low income people to quit their job to stand up, but won't host free speech with millions in his bank. Just cool it with expectations of other people. I cannot disagree with that. That is a that's why I say he's out of touch there. I don't think he's wrong, but that's not, because that has to happen. I don't care if you're middle, low, wherever you are. If you care about your rights, you have to stand up for them. But that's not where I'm going to start. Just like Elijah said, I'm going to start with the officials at the top and help them there and help kind of pave a way for them to be able to feel confident that they can stand up. So that's the wrong place for Tim to put his energy, in my opinion, and that it can come across as being out of touch. And there's times to challenge people. Eric July has challenged me indirectly, not directly. He doesn't know me, but when he's on Ripperverse now. But when he was doing his segments, he would always talk about homeschooling, and he would say, "Hey," and people would say, "Hey, but I might have to quit my job or do this," and Eric July is like, "Okay, well." If you aren't willing to, I'm just paraphrasing because I can't even put it how he puts it. But if you're not willing to sacrifice whatever you need to sacrifice to keep your kids at home so you know that they have the education you want them to have, then you get what you get. I think that's fair. But in this case, it's different with the UPenn athletes. Everybody needs to rally around it. And to me, you got to come with a position of love, not hate for other people. I have no reason to hate Leah Thomas and call Leah Thomas out, but I think the rules that they went to make more sense. We've got to have rules to make the competition fair, and it wasn't fair. So yeah, I agree. I agree. That's hypocrisy. That is a problem. And that's not something I really fully thought out until right here, right now. I'm trying to think through that. That is, for him to say that they have to stand up, because the reason why they're not standing up is because they want to go through college. The reason why Tim Pool took down the video is not to get a strike. I agree. That nobody's perfect. We all are hypocrites on certain things. So that's no I'm not trying to get into any type of, denigrating Tim Pool, but that's. I'd love to hear what he says about that. That to me, it seems like hypocrisy. I agree. Matthew Phillips says, Osiris, what one thing you'd like to talk about on TimCast IRL or Michael Malice? Well, for TimCast IRL, he's a hot topic show. So he's going to be the topic of the day type of thing. For me, one thing that I am very passionate about right now, and I disagree with Tim strongly on this as well, is what do we do if hypothetically MAGA takes over the House. Let's say MAGA takes a House and Senate. You still have Biden or Kamala or some Dem as president. What are the things to focus on during that time of gridlock? You're not going to be able to pass any bills. What do you focus on? Tim Pool has said he wants to focus on almost like a revenge tour, going back after, the Dems, just like they went after with J6 and all that stuff. Because as soon as the Republicans take over, J6 committee's over. It's done. That's why they're trying to get these bills. They got this bill, this bipartisan bill that looks like it's going to pass. They're getting J6 hearings in. They're going to do hearings again in September, I'm hearing. Impeaching Biden, going after Dems is not accountability. Accountability is winning over people. And I think it's very hard for us to win people over without the First Amendment. So I would just want to talk in general about what would happen if MAGA took over. That's one of the top, to me, that's the number one topic right now. But for TimCast, it's really whatever the hot topic is. For Michael Malice, there's a lot more that I would like to talk to Michael Malice about. Because we talk about, he's an ANCAP. If you're not familiar, Michael Malice is one of the most famous now anarcho-capitalist libertarians. And what that means is it's someone who is at the, would you say at the extreme edge of libertarian, where it's like almost the wild, wild west. So you've got different types of libertarians, and it's you abolish all centralized power basically. What I'd like to talk to Michael Malice about is what I don't hear enough about from him is every type of government or society that you create has pros and cons. There are cons to anarcho-capitalism. And one of the cons that I see is that you can have private companies become government, become centralized power. I would like to ask him, how would you prevent that from happening? Maybe you in the chat would know. What is the anarcho-capitalist? I actually did a super chat to Eric July on this. And damn, I forgot his answer on it. But the question was, I super chatted Eric July, and he reads all his super chats. And he said, I asked him, what is the anarcho-capitalist solution to homelessness? Because I want them to answer, how would you deal with it? You have to deal with homelessness. And basically, I'm getting through all this, and Michael Malice is against democracy as it shows right now. But if you have anarcho-capitalism, you would still have factions. And the faction that I would want to be with would just adopt the Constitution. Why recreate the wheel? Now, the Constitution wouldn't apply to the whole United States. It would just be for whatever that state or territory was. But in anarcho-capitalism, you're still going to have to group with people for protection to pay for private police. You'll still have police. They'll just be private police. So I want to ask him about, because he and Drew Hernandez had an interesting back and forth on that famous live with TimCast with Alex Jones, Blair White, Joe Rogan, Drew Hernandez. Drew Hernandez brought up the Constitution, and Michael Malice was kind of snarky about it. But I'm like, bro, what is going to be your basis for uniting whatever tribe you're in under anarcho-capitalism? What does your Constitution look like? To me, you're just recreating the... So I would have a lot more, because I'm a lot getting into, I'm learning about libertarianism from these guys. I would have a lot more to talk about with Michael Malice than Tim Pool. Tim Pool's great, and Tim Pool and I actually agree on a lot of stuff too. So there wouldn't be as much. But I would want to kind of highlight those those areas where we don't agree and have a good discussion on it. The election. I have specific questions on the election. I've done them on YouTube. YouTube hasn't struck me, brought it down because I don't question the results. I want to look forward. I don't question Joe Biden as president, even though I know 2020 was fortified, to use their terms. I don't question Joe Biden because whoever is in the throne of Game of Thrones has the throne. It doesn't matter how they got there. So I have no problem saying Joe Biden is the president. So I haven't had any problems. But I would tell Tim, I have specific questions. I don't know if we need to do in the after show or not, but here are the problems that need to be fixed. You guys tell me, what would you like to talk about on, if you were on like with Michael Malice or TimCast? I'm a big Tesla guy. Ian knows a little bit about it. I would also, for TimCast, a big one would be the decentralized platform that they're working on. Tim Pool has had all of the different platform leaders on his channel, and he's working on a decentralized platform. I would want to talk to him about how do you plan on, or how do we get the alt platforms to work together in some way? Maybe they don't have to work together, but to use the same platform to get more power. Because that's the problem. I'm on Odyssey right now. I don't have as many people on Odyssey. Rumble as well. YouTube, I got the most people. So it would be kind of silly. I would have to probably do a Odyssey only live. And I don't have time for it. It's just hard. So how do you help the alt platforms? Because they're all in the same alternate market, but they're all taking different people, and you'll never have power. And you can't have one company buying them all up, which I don't think would happen, but then you would just turn into YouTube again. Trump makes Nixon look like a fetus. That's an interesting one. Mega DeBoing says, so what happens when ANCAPs start to act like current three-letter agencies and hiding info they want, feeding agendas they want? I like capitalism outside of social programs. I would ask Michael about that too. He'll probably have answers for these things. He's very bright. But the same problems that we have now would surface. You still need a military. You would still, and it would be these different territories that they're just same as states. It might be smaller, but so instead of 50 states, you might have 5,000 states or territories. But you're going to have to group together with other territories or other groups of people to form a national defense. You would contract it out. And the same concern would be that national defense getting too much power. You're like anarcho-capitalism. I fully believe in decentralization. The federal government needs to be peacefully voted, power removed. They have gotten out of control. It's been almost 250 years, and they need an enema. So I'm not against anarcho-capitalism. They've sold me. But what they haven't sold me on is how do you prevent the balance of power to overtake? So you have all these 5,000 territories or whatever. Maybe it's 10,000. I don't know how many it is. Man, how do you stop a territory from running up in your territory and taking you over? And you've got to, so it's a lot harder to do national defense when you've got, 500 territories paying defense contractors? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Under anarcho-capitalism, we're talking about defense contractors. Who are you going to pay to defend you? So you kind of see why, you're almost like recreating the wheel of how the Union was formed. So I think anarcho-capitalism, I'm all for decentralization, sounds great, but really what it is kind of just hitting the reset button on a video game. That's what I view it as. I view anarcho-capitalism as you're playing a civilization game or StarCraft or something like that, where you build these bases and you have your defense, your people, and your community. And that's kind of what they did when they came over from Great Britain and said, we don't need y'all anymore, and built it up. And then they say, hey, we got to find a way to work together, form a union. And to me, anarcho-capitalism is just hitting the reset button, which I'm good with. I'm totally good with. But you basically would start there and build right back up to another United States, to me. At least maybe, because you've got people who are into this, this corporate leftist ideology, they wouldn't be a part of the new U.S. or whatever. But you'd have to protect yourself from them. They are the aggressive ones. So I'm not knowledgeable like he is. So I'm not saying I know more or that he doesn't have answer to these. These are the questions that I would want to have answered. And I think these are more advanced than who's going to pay for the roads. That's what a lot of people talk about. And China. I understand how you can defend yourself from China. But that would be a more interesting discussion to me is Michael Malice. Even though Tim Pool's great. Kevron, 20 Kevron, thanks for stopping by. MAGA should make election ID a requirement in all states and banning mail-in ballots in every state. I think it should be left up to the states. I am not for federal laws. And I think constitutionally you can't. Well, the Dems are trying to do it, but I don't think their For the People Act was constitutional. Not even close. I do not agree with that. If California wants to have a clown-ass election, they can have a clown-ass election. I mean, that's how they roll. It just, I am not okay with, which is what the For the People Act was making every state have to be California. Not okay with it. And I'm not okay with it in reverse. I'm not okay with the federal government making every state, even though I agree it's a better election process, making it banning mail-in ballots and all that. If they want to do, they have ballot harvesting is pretty much legal in California. If they want to do that, that's up to them. They got to decide that. Well, the thing that I was reading about, I've been reading a lot of these bills. Man, these bills are brutal to read. They are brutal. What they do in some of these bills is they'll have lines where they reference other bills. So you're reading the bill and you're like, wait, what? I don't even know what this is. So you have to go to this other statute or this other bill. And then now you're off on a tangent. You're like, okay, I think I got this one. Then you come back to it and you're not getting paid for it. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. But the bills that are simple to follow, I will, and I want to talk about some of them. They recently did this bill where they're looking at shoring up the process of the counting the electoral votes. That's a huge bill there, and there is a huge problem there too. I would agree with that. But I am definitely. I was even on with Jen Perlman a while back, months ago, I think, and she was like, "Yo, you're a little bit more libertarian than you were So that was my second time being on with Jen Perlman. The first time my channel was still fairly new. I don't know if it was like 6 months to a year new, and then I went on after my channel was a little bit less than 2 years new. And she's like, "Yo, you've kind of become a little bit more." Yeah. These libertarians have rubbed off on me. There's no fixing this. Now, I am excited about this Trump thing where he said, maybe I'm a sucker. I perfectly acknowledge that this could be the case, but where Trump's talking about this Schedule F thing, and I've never heard of it. I don't know much about it. I'm just looking into it now because he talked about it. But one of my big problems with Trump was, how are you going to learn from your first term? It was like drain the swamp, and the swamp ate you up. He did what he could. I think some people think he's fake opposition. I don't think that. I think he's real opposition with everything they're trying to do. If he's fake opposition, they've tricked me and they've earned it. Like going after him and all that stuff and his supporters. But my biggest thing was The deep state went after you. You're draining the swamp. It's hard. How is he going to drain the swamp in 4 years? 2 impeachments, all kinds of special investigation, all that kind of stuff. So, but what did you learn? So he's coming out with this Schedule F thing now, where he's like, I'm going to fire a bunch of y'all. The deep state, Bannon would call it the administrative state, are all these people that just stay working for the FBI, the CIA, and all these government agencies, and they stay there from president to president. They're the ones really running the country in many ways. And my understanding is, I'm not an expert on it yet, my understanding is Trump saying, I'm going to fire all y'all. I'm like, let's go. Trump is that, man, Trump is like, because I've been like excited about Trump, and I never voted for Trump. But I've been excited about Trump. Like, okay, I might vote for him. Because right now I'm voting for Comic Dave Smith, don't get me wrong. But I'm looking at DeSantis and Trump, and I'm like, Trump bigged up Fauci. I'm like, ah. Then he had Johnson family, the Johnson family up there. But Johnson family stood by him. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, so it's like a roller coaster ride. Then Trump is like teasing, like, I'm going to do this here. So he's trying to tell you, if you give me another chance, I'm cleaning house. It's not drain the swamp anymore. It's like, get the hell out when I get in there. That's exciting. I will not lie. And with what's happened in 2020, I fully believe he will do that. I fully believe. People might say, oh, he's pulling your leg just to get your vote. Just straight up out of revenge, I think he would do that. And I'd be here for it, eating popcorn, like, or sipping on my tea, like, ooh, who got fired today? Let's go. Let's go. So I'm not ready to vote for him. He has to say something about Jared Kushner. I can't do it with Kush anymore. I cannot do it with Kush anymore. Not that everything he did was bad, but the money, handling bill from the Saudis, you're done for me. Now, people try to make it sound like he got $2 billion. He didn't get $2. Do you think the Saudis would give him? You really think the Saudis would give Jared Kushner $2 billion? Just like give it to him? No, they give it to his private whatever management, equity firm or whatever it is to manage. Now he's making money off the fees, but he better manage that money because the stock market, I don't know where he's putting that money at, but if they give you $2 billion and you're creating fees, you better turn that bill into something more than $2 billion. But whatever, that disqualifies Jared Kushner. He cannot be involved in any way, shape, form, or fashion. He is one of the people who is fired. I don't blame Trump for having him on. I don't know how he negotiated the Middle East deal, which was good. Maybe it was a deal with the devil. I don't know. But Kush is gone. I need Trump to say that. Kush won't be around. And his daughter. They're flaming leftists. They're not MAGA. They need to be gone. They're not built for this. But I can't lie. I might do a video on that schedule. That Schedule F thing got me hyped where Trump said, I'm going to go ahead and fire all of them. Fire them all. Now, the thing that I worry about, though, is do you think that there will be a midterm election? I hope there is. Do you think there's going to be a midterm election or a 2024 election with Trump being able to do that? Are you serious? Do you think that could really happen? Do you think they would let Trump be in a position to do that? Do you really think so? There is no way possible that they would allow Trump to get into office like that. So who knows? They might send Nancy Pelosi over to Taiwan to start some real beef. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. Well, they're doing that allegedly, potentially now. but that can escalate things. I think they would rather have nukes flying all over the country, all over the world, than have Trump get back into office. So hopefully that's me being Fox Mulder, paranoid and wrong. Somebody be Scully and bring me back to earth. But do you think that these scumbags are going to allow, just off GP, allow Trump back in office so he can wreck shop? Do you think that will be a thing? I'm excited about it. I'm going to still assume that it will happen. But in the back of my mind, I'm always like, there ain't no way. They'd rather the earth burn down than that happen. So, I don't know. So it's a roller coaster ride. I got ups and downs. Somebody said Nancy is too, I'm not going to use the phrase. I'm kind of like Tim. I'm very careful. I don't want to piss YouTube off. But the last says, if Biden doesn't run and they run someone younger, I would suggest Trump's son run. He actually goes harder on free speech and that thing. So I'm not as big of a fan of Donald Trump Jr. And I assume you're talking about Donald, not Eric or whatever. I like, there's stuff I like about Donald Trump Jr. But, and I'll have to look it up to be able to articulate this. I haven't dug into this to do a video or anything. He comes across as unhinged at times for me, unfocused. Is it me, or does he look high as a kite sometimes too? Like, it's not just Robert Biden. And I don't know, man. I just, what do y'all think about Trump Jr.? I'm not against him, but y'all talk about, not y'all, but I'm sorry, who mentioned that? I forgot who mentioned that. They're talking about Trump as Donald Trump Jr. as president. Nah. We got DeSantis in the ropes. Like, nah. I'm good. I'd much rather DeSantis than Donald Trump Jr. That's for sure. People are afraid to admit. Anthony Craig Show, thank you for stopping by. Says Trump was the best president we had so far, hands down. People are just afraid to admit it. I don't know if he's my number one president. Well, of my lifetime, yeah, I think that's an easy answer. I'm 44. There's no way. I mean, who would you mention? I mean, you could, other than Trump. And there's not even a president I would even mention. Like, I've, you know, it sounds weird to say. I didn't vote for him either time. You know, in retrospect, it looks like I should have. No, I don't know if I should have. I didn't vote for Biden. Let me be clear there. I voted for Andrew Yang in 2020. Wrote in, and that's embarrassing. And I will acknowledge. If I make a mistake, I will acknowledge. Andrew Yang is too bitch made for me. Now, this is not the day and time for somebody who's saying Liz Cheney is principled. That's what Andrew Yang said. So forgive me if I do not rock with the Forward Party. Andrew Yang has good ideas. A good idea is a good idea. I'm not going to ignore it just because it's Andrew Yang, but he's cringe now. I voted for Ralph Nader in 2016. Just to be clear, I did not vote. I will pull my inner Kamala out. Just to be clear, I did not vote for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. No. I just didn't know. I didn't even have my thoughts formulated on the populist right. I was still blue-pilled in 2016. I was never against Trump. But to me, he was the apprentice. And he was kind of all over the map. He was kind of really all over the map. 2020 is the one. See, 2020, the pandemic really hurt Trump, with me as well. He messed it up. But in retrospect, I can say In retrospect, the 2016 vote, I'm fine with voting Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader is based. If you don't know, Ralph Nader is dope. I love Ralph Nader. The 2020, I was all in the Yang Gang and all that, bought my math hat. In retrospect, that was a bad vote. I would have rather voted Trump than Andrew Yang in 2020, for sure. Yeah. And, I'm not afraid to admit that Trump is the best president that in my lifetime. It does sound funny to say, but who are the president? Who else would it be? I mean, it wasn't Bill. Reagan was in my lifetime. Now, Reagan did some good things. He was a great speaker. He was a showman. He was a leader. So Reagan would probably be the next, but I'm not a trickle-down economics guy. So if you're not a trickle-down economics guy, then you can't really be a Reagan guy. Reagan was a big spender as well. That's my biggest beef with Trump. He was a big spender as well. And Trump's viewpoint was, I got to win the election. And they don't give me points for not spending. True. But I'm going to criticize you for that. But Ronald Reagan, man, my wife thinks I'm crazy. I'll go back and watch Ronald Reagan debates. That dude he was one of the best. Well, he was an actor. He was Hollywood. So that helps. Not to say he was fake, but he had a presence about him. He could improv. His speeches were amazing. He was a beast to debate. Do you remember that response from Ronald Reagan? Which debate was it? Where the guy said that he was old or something like that. Who was it? Who was he debating in that one? Man, that's a famous debate. I think it was Walter Mondale. And he was like, I'm not going to use your youth and inexperience against you. When he tried to call him old, I can't deliver it right, but it was one of those moments where you're like, ooh, Ronald Reagan flamed that dude in that debate. And that doesn't mean you're going to be a great president, but I love the debates. The debates are important. I just recently did a thread talking about the debates. There's a push for Republicans, since Republicans and especially MAGA don't have a corporate media outlet. There's a push to withhold, to not interact with the press and to not go to debates. And I'm going to call out specifically Herschel Walker here. Thanks for the comment, Anthony Craig Show. Herschel Walker, you're going to need to debate. If you are a populist candidate, and I don't know if Herschel Walker has purported himself to be a populist candidate, but that's all I care about. If you're not a populist candidate, and what I mean by that, on the vast majority of issues, you err on the side of giving people power over the government and corporations. If I can't describe you as that, I don't care about you. I don't care what party you're in. I can disagree with how. Populist left thinks there should be more government spending, like your Jimmy Dore and your Crystal Balls, Kyle Kalinskis, Nico Houses. They don't care about governments, but they'll spend whatever, just not on war, just on other things. We can disagree on that, but they truly have people in mind first. And Herschel Walker, if you can't get up on a stage and debate one of the most, Fugazi, Raphael Warnock, terrible candidate, Fugazi corporate shill. Herschel, I don't care that you could be labeled as inarticulate or whatever. Bro, you're a populist. That's a benefit. You don't sound like them. That helped Donald Trump. Not that he was in, I don't even want to use the word inarticulate. You don't sound polished like Mitt Romney. That's good. That's because you're not Mitt Romney. Get up on the stage and talk. You should never. So if you don't know what's happening, Herschel Walker has not agreed to debate Raphael Warnock. Raphael Warnock wants to debate him. You can't run from that. Herschel Walker wants a neutral moderator. He wants his terms. I get it. But at the end of the day, they rule the institutions. If you are going into that swamp and you don't want to debate until the terms are perfect for you, step out of the way and let someone like Carrie Lake, who wants to get in there, get in there. Carrie Lake attacks the corporate media and she wants to debate. People run from debate from her. You can't pass up on that. Let me, there's this clip on where I talked about Ronald Reagan briefly. This is a very short clip. Talking about the charisma, the thing about Ronald Reagan. I never saw this before recently. Went viral. This account brought it back up, I think. Or maybe this is an old tweet from 2018. Wow. But here it is.
By its very existence and character.
You're going to hear a balloon pop. And this is his response right on the fly.
By its very existence and character, Berlin remains the most compelling argument for an open world. We're reminded of the many traditions of openness and democracy that have marked the history of this city. America missed me.
That was dope. So a balloon pops, sounds like a gunshot. Oh, I didn't show the video, but the balloon pops, it sounds like a gunshot. And Ronald Reagan is like, "Whoop, missed me."
This city, America missed me. And democracy that have marked the history of this city, America missed me.
That's a G move right there. That's a younger Reagan before he's kind of like Biden, but his was more graceful. The mental cognitive decline was sad to see for Ronald Reagan, but that definitely looks like before he was shot. Attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. I believe that has to be before. He looks young in that clip, but what a G. Tube Doggo says Reagan needs to be forgotten. I think I have to do research. I would have to do research on it because everything Reagan did wasn't all bad. So he was obviously a corporate guy. That we haven't had a non-corporate president. It was JFK. I think JFK was corporate, even though he was more based on certain things. But when you look at my lifetime, it's Donald Trump. I mean, let me look at what presidents in my lifetime. I mean, Bush. I mean, this laughable. So we've had trash. I think Carter was, Jimmy Carter actually is in my lifetime. I thought Jimmy Carter was before my lifetime, but he was obviously one of the worst presidents ever, even though a likable guy, unlike Biden. Biden's not likable and the worst president ever, taking the crown from Jimmy Carter. You've got Ronald Reagan in there. I mean, you got to acknowledge Trump is one of the best of our lifetime. I mean, you have to acknowledge that. Is the best. I mean, there's no one even close. So you got Reagan. Okay, no. George H. Bush? I mean, are you serious? No. Clinton? No. I mean, these are trash presidents. Bush Jr., the W? No. Barack Obama, gosh, terrible. And I voted for him twice. Donald Trump is by far the best president of my lifetime. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even a debate. Yeah, since I think it's clear. Like I'm looking at the list now, and it's like it's becoming even more obvious. I mean, it's clearly he's the best president since JFK. It's not even close. And when you go beyond JFK, I don't know a lot about Coolidge. I actually talked about this on with, we went through some of the presidents on with Carlos and Ray Studios. I have to study more on a lot, but got Teddy Roosevelt in there. I mean, he might be the best since Andrew Jackson. Beyond some of these other presidents, and you got Jackson and Lincoln. So yeah, you gotta give Trump credit. Was not perfect. Nobody ever gonna be perfect, but man, he was right about a lot. The last says, funny thing is, I would still take Obama over Romney or McCain and support Trump. Wow. I'm trying to think, like, if somebody said you had to pick of one of these presidents, Obama, Romney, and McCain. Rest in peace, McCain. Wow. And you can't do none of the above. You have to pick no write-ins. Wow. I would have to pick Romney. But I said, I've said it multiple times. Barack Obama is just a mixed Mitt Romney. Like, he took Romney's plan from when Romney was governor and turned it into Obamacare. So, I mean, that's one of those questions like there's no good answer. So, he said McCain. Wow. Respect McCain for his service. Yeah, I guess I could see that. McCain was too much of a warmonger, but they're all warmongers. So yeah, you could be right with McCain. It's like when the only options you have are warmongers, then what's the difference? McCain had a little bit more integrity. Yeah, not that he's great, Lisa, but she's like, between those options, you might be right. Looking back at it, McCain might be the better one. Dude, bring back one of the guys who died at like 40 for president. Eddie Sanchez says, undoing Wilson would be the perfect president along with Roosevelt land grab for national parks. Yeah, I love the Roosevelt land grab. Woodrow Wilson was disastrous. Woodrow Wilson was a disastrous president. And he implemented a lot of the things we're having problems with right now. Terrible president. So I agree with undoing what happened under Woodrow Wilson would be a good place to start. Bill wasn't that bad. You talking about Clinton? Times were good. Bill had the benefit of an economic bubble. That bubble popped when Bush came into office. I can't roll with the Clintons. I didn't know it then. I was blue-pilled, how savage they are. I could never pick Bill as an option. Okay, Hillary Clinton, with her deplorable comment, basically came out and like they hate common people. Bill and Hillary Clinton, in my opinion, hate your common people, common person. Hate them. You wouldn't say the things that they said about common people if you did not absolutely hate them. They support a lot of things where I just can't get with them. Yeah, I mean, at the time I was blue-pilled, so I didn't have a problem. I actually voted for Clinton in, was it 96? I think it was 96, or I think so. So yeah, I just can't do it with them. Knowing what we know now. I didn't know what I know now then, so. Neoliberalism is the problem. I tweeted the other day, what if that is the disease? The mental disease? Neoliberalism. What if that is the mental disease? Is that possible? I don't know. I was asking the question. I want to play a clip. Why I love the liberty movement. I just so love the liberty movement. Thanks for hanging out right now. I'm just chilling, just hanging out. Miss doing YouTube channels and videos. This speech by Clifton Duncan was out of this world. There's a speech by Clifton Duncan that I just gotta. I don't know how much I'll get through of it. Just hang out and listen to it. I assume there's no echoing because I haven't seen feedback, and I'm really scared about that ruining the video. I don't want to ruin this video with echo. So what I'm going to play here is Clifton Duncan. He's going to introduce himself if you don't know who he is. I just started following him because he was based. I don't know how I interacted with him on Twitter or saw his tweets, and I've been following him for a while. Let's get that off the 666. I've been following him for a while, and he was speaking in front of the Mises Institute in Auburn, Alabama on July 24th. Here's what it sounded like.
Jeff with the stand-up routine. How about that inflation? Opinions are divided on this. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, great. It costs a lot of money. That's why I got that degree. To speak like this. But opinions are divided on this kind of a thing. But some think that it's a good idea when you're beginning public remarks to start off with a joke to kind of break the ice and ingratiate yourselves to your audience. Now, I don't know how I feel about that, but what I will say is that Joe Biden is the greatest president that we've ever seen. Let's be serious, guys. His strong leadership combined with the razor-sharp mental acuity, it's truly inspirational. Anyway, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be speaking with you all today. But I have to be honest with you, my first reaction when I was invited was, wait a minute, but I'm an actor. What on earth could I possibly say to these brilliant young people that would have any sort of value or meaning to them or even sound reasonably intelligent? Fortunately, I was able to reassure myself with another thought, which was, wait a minute, I'm an actor. Nobody expects me to say anything reasonably intelligent at all. So now with your expectations comfortably low, I have a little story to tell. So my name is Clifton Duncan. Hopefully you remember that from just minutes ago. My life makes no sense. I'm an army brat, the son of a single mother. I never knew my father. I grew up in Germany, Virginia, Belgium, and Virginia in that order. And I was actually a very shy and introverted child, if you can believe it. Somewhat of a loner who took a keen interest in solitary activities like drawing and illustration, but who also dabbled in music, poetry, and fiction writing. In my senior year of high school, I dropped out of my French class, much to the chagrin of my teacher, to chase a girl into drama class. Pretty much the reason most straight guys end up doing theater anyway. It's true. There, I discovered an aptitude for performing, and I soon wound up playing a pivotal but supporting role in our school's production of the musical Bye Bye Birdie. Should have been the lead. Whatever, it's fine. I'm not bitter at all. Anyway, friends and family alike were astounded that this seemingly shy kid seemingly had no fear of appearing in front of an audience and subsequently stealing the tragically few scenes that he was in. Now, later on, this shy, directionless young man would go on to earn an MFA from New York University's prestigious graduate acting program. It's also very expensive. It's a subsidiary of the Tisch School of the Arts, one of the world's most elite conservatory programs for young actors. It's considered on par with or often superior to America's other elite institutions, those being the Juilliard and the Yale School of Drama. Yale's okay. Just to give you an idea of how competitive this institution is, at that time they would audition 1,000 young hopefuls from around the country, sometimes around the world. And out of that 1,000, they would call back 50. Out of that 50, they ultimately offered spots to 18. Now, many of my classmates had to audition multiple times to get into the program. I got in on my very first try. I graduated in 2009, right in the midst of what was then called the Great Recession. I thought it was kind of mediocre. I didn't enjoy it that much. Over the next decade, I essentially lived out of a suitcase and some boxes, subletting tiny rooms and shoebox apartments all over the wonderfully pristine city of Manhattan, well, island of Manhattan. And I graduated from supporting to lead roles at many of America's top theaters. And eventually, after a bunch of near misses, I finally landed on Broadway in the hit comedy The Play That Goes Wrong, which Tom Woods is very, very, very obsessed with and probably knows far more about the show than I do. And I was in it. So soon thereafter, I found myself working with renowned directors and starring opposite Tony-winning actors and actresses and doing television with guys like Jimmy Smits and personal favorite of mine, Scott Bakula, who was awesome in Quantum Leap. And I was earning praise and effusion from legends such as Joel Grey and the late Stephen Sondheim, and even garnering award recognition for my work. After hearing me sing, there was one actress who quipped to me, incredulous. She goes, "Why on earth are you not famous? Are you an asshole or something?" Maybe, Nancy, maybe. Now, I don't say all of that to brag, I really don't. It may come as a surprise to many of you, but in many ways, I am still that shy boy that I referenced earlier who, though comfortable in the spotlight, I don't like to draw too much attention to myself, oddly enough. I don't actually talk that much about my acting career, I never did. And it's hard to do so without feeling like I'm bragging, and I find bragging highly distasteful. I once had a teacher tell me I could use some more arrogance, as a matter of fact. But the thing is, on a deeper level, I am bringing up these achievements. To do so is actually a source of great pain and resentment for me right now. Because it reminds me of a life that I've spent the past 2 years trying desperately to forget. I've been trying to forget it because the contrast between what my life was and what it is now, to be completely candid, often drives me to despair. So now I'm staring down the barrel of 40 years of age. I no longer reside in the city formerly known as New York, a place I called home for a decade and a half. I wait tables for a living, something I hadn't had to do since I was 22 years old. I no longer have a powerful manager sending me auditions for lucrative, high-profile, life-changing projects, and I no longer have the prospect of earning a 5-figure weekly salary working in TV or on Broadway. And so now the prospect of paying off all those NYU loans, maybe even starting a family, have become even more distant dreams. I'm now shut out of the entertainment industry. I have few marketable skills because I never needed them. The few skills I did work on centered around acting and singing, skills which are highly valued in New York and Los Angeles, but which, as you might imagine, have very little value outside of the arts and entertainment sector. I feel as though I'm starting over from scratch and must learn things that most adults my age, many of whom have families and other weighty responsibilities, have mastered. And so you may be asking yourself, well, what the hell happened? Why have I gone from having a billboard with my likeness on it in the middle of Times Square, winning standout notices in the New York Times and guest starring on network television, to where I am now? Well, it's quite simple. I refuse to allow any employer, or by extension the government, to act as my healthcare provider and to dictate what I inject into my body. I refuse to be bullied or coerced or shamed into taking a medical product that I neither want nor need. I've been extraordinarily vocal in my opposition to what I view as grotesque and egregious state overreach into private affairs and personal freedoms. Indeed, even if things were to magically return to normal tomorrow, I'm greatly disturbed by the precedent which has been set, wherein government officials and bureaucrats can take it upon themselves to determine who is essential and who is not, to decide who gets to operate their business and who does not, and in some cases decide who's allowed to travel and who is not. I mean, we're still winning tennis tournaments, so, you know, what are you going to do about that? Now, part of the mission of the Mises Institute is to promote individual freedom. As an actor, I was trained to be a conduit and a vessel for both the splendor and the tragedy of the human condition. And as such, I'm also a staunch advocate for the freedom of expression and a firm believer in and champion of the irrepressible fire and vitality of the human spirit. As an artist, while I can appreciate form and structure, I also value nonconformity, especially when it challenges an increasingly square and constrictive status quo. And so, although I've paid a price, I'll never regret standing up to and forcefully saying no to a repressive, nonsensical, unethical, and ultimately unnecessary encroachment on our freedoms. I'll always enjoy denouncing short-sighted, inept, or corrupt elites. I don't really call them elites, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll refrain from calling them what I normally do, which is garbage people. Their arrogance has deluded them into thinking their credentials or their position qualify them to dictate to me what is for my own good, as if they know and care for me better than I could know and care for myself. I mean, honestly, I don't want to throw any stones, but does anyone in here look at, I don't know, like Rochelle Walensky, and it's just like, now that lady knows what she's talking about. I don't. You know, I'm not going to lecture you on the importance of things like telling the truth and standing for your principles. Sorry, Jeff. That was sort of the agreement. But the fact that all of you are here right now signals to me that you also share those values. I mean, it's not like I have any great insight into economic or social theory. I'm at the beginning of my intellectual journey in that regard. But what I can offer you is a little encouragement and some optimism. Now, it's no great secret that things in the world don't seem to be going so great right now, with forecasts of difficult, austere times ahead, or even worse. Such predictions are rampant. The past 2 years have demonstrated that with the frightening ease with which masses of people can be manipulated, either driven to destructive protests or terrified into compliance with nonsensical and deleterious rules and policies. They've also shown us the dangers in giving a small pseudo-clergy, both elected and unelected, the ability to exercise influence and control over our lives and our livelihoods. Supply chain disruptions, warnings of bad harvests and food shortages and mass starvation, concerns about conflict overseas, worries about what seems to be an ever-deteriorating social and political fabric here in the United States. But I do have some good news. I'm a pot-smoking, pro-choice atheist. That's not the good news, I promise. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, guys. Just don't do it. I like battle rap, Broadway, Shakespeare, and Judy Garland. The point is, there's really no reason I feel like I should be here right now, and yet here I am. Given my background, there is very little reason why someone like myself should ever come into contact with someone like Mr. Jeff Deist, and yet I have. In fact, over the past 2 years, I've developed relationships with all kinds of fascinating people from across the socio-political spectrum, across various professions and across the world. And while I mourn the loss of many friends and former colleagues and grieve what at least for now appears to be the end of an exciting and cherished career, I've now found a new venture as I explore this whole content creator and influencer thing. I mean, there's a guy in Germany, a university teacher, who wrote to me, and he told me that he uses my podcast as a part of his syllabus, or syllabi, I think that's the word. And that his students actually ask him if they've seen the latest episodes, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I was born in Germany, so it's pretty cool that somebody out there is showing some love and and sharing my stuff with others. And simply put, once I began saying what I really think, my reach quickly exploded far beyond what I'd achieved chasing a career as an actor. And I found new relationships with some truly incredible and interesting people. And so here's the good news. The good news is that we are all seeing and discussing the same problems and issues. Scientists, economists, scholars, writers, journalists, gamers, comic book enthusiasts, truckers, farmers, around the world, people from all walks of life are seeing the same things and rebelling against the same things. And now, while you are just entering the prime of your lives, you're living through a major paradigm shift in which humanity across the globe has awakened to the importance of preserving independence, to the importance of standing up to would-be despotism, the need for robust and lively debate and wide-ranging discussion. I believe that awareness and that desire is growing. Additionally, selfishly speaking, what I've discovered is that there is a massive appetite for beauty and for meaning and transcendence, a thirst for the awe and the wonder that great works of art can generate. And I've discovered that, believe it or not, the people of New York and Los Angeles, in fact, do not have a monopoly on sophistication and culture. More people than ever now have access to and can stake their claim in the vaunted marketplace of ideas that we hear so much about. More people than ever are discovering, with the help of technology, the works of great thinkers like Hayek and Mises, as I have done. More people than ever can and are speaking up against corruption and shining a light on areas that those in power would rather conceal. And we're living at a time where it appears that people are discovering the folly and overly centralized power, and that perhaps those who've anointed themselves as our betters, the garbage people, excuse me, the experts, let's say, are far from infallible, to be diplomatic about it. Despite what the so-called artists in hip, urban, exorbitantly expensive metros might believe, it's people like us who are pushing back against and forging a new status quo. It's people like you who are challenging the regime and helping keep the rest of us honest. And I believe it will be people like you, with your intuition and your innovation, who will ultimately win out over the COVIDians and the critical theorists and the climate catastrophists. It's you who, choosing to color outside of the ideological lines prescribed to you, who are the future. So I suppose, in short, that I wish to impress upon you that the idea that all is not doom and gloom. And I encourage you to push back against the cynicism and the nihilism of the age. You may suffer consequences in the short term, but I'm an example that over time, things kind of tend to work themselves out. You never know what kind of company you'll be keeping. And I must say that as someone who was an actor for over 20 years, I've never been more appreciative and admiring of my audience. So thanks for listening to me run my mouth. End of speech, turn page.
So they're going to do a question session. I'll play some of that and interrupt it, but I really like the speech. I think some feedback here that it was fluff. I think we need some fluff. We need to understand the power that we have. And we have to understand he went through some tough times working as a waiter. I don't know if he's still doing that now. He's doing his YouTube thing. YouTube channels, all that is marketing, basically. But when something bad happens to you, tough times happen, and we're going through some times, people are going to be getting laid off. You can call it a recession or not call it a recession. We can have that semantic argument, and I can point out why you might not want to call it a recession, because you don't want the public to overcorrect, and you don't want to lose the midterms. But the businesses look at the bottom line. We are going to see layoffs. We are going to see hardship for many people. And what I see here is Clifton's like, I decided that I wasn't going to take that thing. So I got ostracized. I had to leave my job. I had to wait tables. And now I'm in a completely different lane, a lane that he probably never would have been in if he wasn't forced into it. God has plans. It's just a matter of, are you going to follow the path? You might get fired from your job. You might have something else happen. You might get have a horrible divorce or whatever, and things look bad in the country, maybe personally, but there's good that can come out of that. So why do you think I was talking about Kanye West college dropout and Kanye West now? They ain't the same Kanye. Kanye's still dope though, but that heartache, that pain, when he was on the stage trying to give beat tapes to Talib Kweli, begging Talib Kweli to play his beat tape and use one of those beats, he was hungry. So don't lose the drive, the hunger, and you might find yourself in a position that's better off. And yeah, it might sound like an Instagram motivational sticker. So damn, let's have a motivational sticker then. A lot of the topics that we talk about can seem doom and gloom. There's got to be a balance. This balance, this coming together with people, that is the foundation. This is bigger than politics. This is a cultural move right here. You're going to hear him in this question and answering session. He's going to basically say, we're a bunch of weirdos in a room together. Let's embrace that. You people can talk about the populist right all they want. The populist right is where the diversity is. There's no diversity in the corporate mindset because you have to agree. You might have different colors there of skin, but they don't have skin. They don't have diversity deeper than skin because you aren't black if you don't vote for or believe that ideology. I don't believe everything MAGA believes. I've never had problems with anyone who identifies as MAGA, even though I could be milquetoast or middle MAGA or something like that. Never had problems with anyone MAGA because I've come with respect with them, let them know my piece. They work with logic. On major points, we agree. You can't do that anywhere else. And what's bringing him together here is the Mises Caucus. This is liberty. The strongest political movement in our country outside of MAGA is this, what you heard right here. That's the second strongest political movement in our country because of Comic Dave Smith, Michael Heiss, Angela McArdle, people who support Mises, Tom Woods, Michael Malice, Robbie the Fire Bernstein, and too many people to name. That's the strongest political movement in our country outside of MAGA, right here. And in a large part, there's overlap. We can work together. They're very MAGA friendly. So I love this. It might be fluff. I mean, not in anything's wrong, but it's not like detailed substance. Man, we can't all get into, we got to rally the troops sometimes. If you've ever played football, before you get on the football field or basketball or whatever, you getting hype. You're in the locker room like, we can do this. We can win this. However, whoever's the leader in the locker room. Remember Ray Lewis, former football linebacker? Whoever it is, you rally the troops. And that's what's happening here. It's very similar.
Thank you.
Now, Clifton agreed to take some questions from the audience. So I know we have a mic, or do we have just the one mic? But so let me ask an opening question. Can you just tell us what's the current state of Broadway, both for the actors themselves and for audiences attending? I don't know what the COVID status is of Broadway.
Well, it's funny. I actually, not to do a shameless self-plug, but my latest podcast right now is the thumbnail says, How COVIDians Are Killing Broadway. So it's not just that you have to have gotten the vaccine and boosted in some instances in order to work as an actor. There's also a cultural kind of shift that's happened. I think people really understand that these shots are not the sort of silver bullet that they were made out to be. You still have shows closing either early or going on hiatus on Broadway. Off-Broadway is really, really struggling right now. There's some institutions like the Lincoln Center, for instance, that are requiring audiences to be boosted still. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Georgia, I mean, you know, you can go get a lap dance at Magic City, and you've been able to do so for like a year, while you can't, but you can't go to see a Broadway play. So it's, my big problem is that nobody really says anything. You know, like people can see what's going on, and what's even more egregious about it is that as actors, unless you're super, super famous, you really have no leverage. Because there's always somebody there to take your place. For every person, there's like 100 people behind them that are, you know, and it's even practical things like not just wanting money, but you know, you need insurance weeks, like many other professions. How many weeks you work as an actor it determines how much insurance you get. So there's all kinds of practical factors that go into why people are deciding to either lie or go ahead and get the shots. There's economic turmoil. They're trying to convince themselves that things are going well, but it's not. I think something is broken. I think people realize it, but people are afraid to say it. And I have a friend who I'm kind of on the outs with because, you know, she's still kind of in the machine, and you know, she got the Johnson & Johnson, I think. But she said, well, I didn't want to commit career suicide. I'm like, well, that's the problem. It's people like you who are allowing this regime to continue, even though everyone knows or has some inkling that it's wrong and it's not working. So that's the long-winded way of saying that it's effed up. I don't know if it's going to be repaired anytime soon, but that's the state of things as I see it.
I wanted to comment on this. Mega Badoink tweet here said that she is a pureblood, let's just say. So is her entire family. Or him or her, I'm not sure. The avatar is a woman. Not one of us has had it, that thing, or known it. We live life and focus on eating healthy and getting sun. Our president has tested positive for that thing again. 2 shots, 2 boosters, walking around like a muzzled freak half the time. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling anybody any advice. I'm just making an observation. He wanted to fire innocent citizens from their job who didn't take this thing. Wants to force it upon children. All that's happening. And he's had a full course of Paxlovid and still got it again. At what point are we not going to say enough? Something's not right. Talk to us like we're real people. What is really going on? It's embarrassing. Everybody's walking around. We know what's happening to Robert Biden, his son. We know being exposed, and everybody's walking around like it's not there. Like, hey, boss, or all this stuff. That's not going to happen forever. Let's just say that. We're not going to go through the rest of his presidency like this. Someone's going to have to raise the questions. We'll see what happens in midterms and all that. But it trickles down to the decisions that are made in New York that Clifton is talking about. He's a Broadway guy. It's damn near destroyed the whole thing. Over what?
All right. All right. Well, thank you for your great speech. And my question is fairly simple, to be honest. Why do you think the people in Hollywood and in Broadway are promoting that kind of culture of obedience to the government and to big corporations?
I've been trying, excuse me. So the question was it why is the industry in Broadway specifically, as bad as it is in Hollywood, it's like 10 times more concentrated in the theater, why they're sort of supporting these big corporations now in terms of like pharmaceutical industries? Well, One, my guest tonight is this dancer named Pamela Goodman, who said something that really shocked me. She said, well, you think about commercials, right? You get the initial payment for shooting the commercial. Your agents get a commission off of when you work. And so if you turn on TV, what do you see all the time? It's pharmaceutical ads. So you have these agents, these actors and agents who are making all of this money off of these pharmaceutical ads and pushing these shots. And the agents are getting commissions on it as well. So if we talk about incentives, see, I know a thing or two, incentives and how people respond to them. Well, you're incentivizing this sort of behavior. And so you don't have these representatives who are going to go out of their way to say, well, my client needs an exemption. Another thing is that the industry tends to really attract people who are strictly, this may be a shocker to you, but they're anti-capitalist. Yet at the same time, they're deeply, deeply feeling people, right? There's a reason they call them bleeding heart liberals. And they have this idea of themselves as citizens of the world, as very open, very compassionate. So when they've been convinced over the last couple of years, because they get their news from Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, that they are on the side of good, no matter what the cause is. It can be a cause completely diametrically opposed to what it was a week before, but they'll go along with it. Partly because it makes themselves feel better. They get social points from their friends. But also it's a very reputational industry that's built on relationships, and nobody wants to say the wrong thing. Nobody wants to rock the boat. I mean, I've had phone calls from directors saying, I want to work with this actor, but how is it like that? So people talk, and it's about who you know, just as much as it is about your talent. So there's a lot of factors that go into why people are kind of pushing this thing now, even though from the outside we can see that it's completely nonsensical and ridiculous.
Hi, thanks for the talk. So my question is, I wonder if you had the same passion that you have now towards liberty, if you were liberty-oriented pre-COVID, and if you had the similar outlook on life. And if not, then what was the catalyst, what was the moment that made you become aware of how crucial this is?
That's a good question. I think that, I was always kind of easygoing. I never really thought that much about things. But I will say, I've been thinking about this. In August of 2009, while Barack Obama was publicly stumping for single payer, whatever it was, government health care, there was an article buried deep in the New York Times in their A section about how he was meeting secretly behind closed doors with these pharmaceutical, or maybe insurance companies, I forgot, it was such a long time ago. Insurance companies? Well, he knows. And so I'm like, well, they're sort of helping craft this bill, but the term government mandate, immediately I said, I don't want it. And so I wonder if constitutionally, that's just sort of how I'm built. I've always been kind of hard-headed, always kind of a loner in many ways. And I've always had this streak of don't tell me what to do. And even in my skepticism of, say, government was created by, ironically, listening to left-wing journalists like Glenn Greenwald, who was consistent in his criticisms of the Bush administration and the Obama administration in terms of how they reacted to the war on terror, or 9/11, I should say. So this idea of a creeping surveillance state and of government overreach, they've always kind of been in the back of my mind as things to look out for. But I would say that during COVID, what really, really disturbed me in my capacity as one of these sensitive feeling artists was that everything that we're asking people to do to save lives seems to fly right in the face of anything that resembles being remotely human. And I said, this is not right. And I couldn't believe, on top of that you had all these people in one of the cultural art centers of the universe allowing themselves to be rendered as less essential than liquor store operators. It was very strange to me. But again, people they don't want to say anything and they don't want to speak out. And I just said, I'm tired of doing someone has to say something, and no one's doing it. And I don't know. I just maybe I'm sort of built like that. Some people are built different, as they say.
Another one, he did mention the pandemic. So many people mentioned the pandemic, and that's what it was for me. It was the pandemic when It was right after George Floyd passed away. The riots, everybody coming out. And remember that at that time, I believe it was still locked down in many places. So I'm like, wait a second. All of a sudden, the protesters come out for George Floyd, it's okay. But for churches, it's not? Come again? I'm like, wait, that was the red pill moment that got me. And then I started seeing people, asking simple questions like, does that make sense to you? And then they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, wait a second. I know I might be wrong, but that's not a bad question. Why are people looking at me like I'm crazy? Things got really accelerated, really weird in 2020. And that's when I started my channel. 2020, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was really fully until just within the last 2 years. Hearing that story from a lot of people.
That answers your question. I'm sorry. I kind of ranted there for a little bit. All righty.
Hello there. So when word went out that you weren't taking the vaccine, like socially, what were the effects? Like, were you brought in to do like struggle sessions or things like this, or asked to explain yourself? Or was it more that people just simply stopped talking to you? Were you interrogated on your other views? Or like, were you known as being, as you say, like a pro-choice atheist? Did people take that as given? Or did this you must have been a reactionary the whole time? How did that go?
Well, my manager sent me, I don't have any hard feelings against her, but she sent me this email, which is basically like, I can't submit you for anything. And so then, like I said, if you're not working, they're not getting paid. And so eventually I was just a very little use to her. I got into it with some people, on Twitter, which is always a great place for nuanced discussion and debate. Like there was an actor named Stephen Pasquale who's very successful in the New York sector sphere. And, he made this tweet about how people who are unvaccinated their lives should be made harder and all these kinds of things. And I just said, I worked with this. I defended him, on several occasions. He's not the easiest person to get along with or to work with, but I never had any problems with him. And I was just like, well, Stephen, you're talking about, now mind you, this is an industry now which has gone full-on anti-racist, right? And I'm sure people in here are appraised of the statistics about vaccine uptake disparities in various communities and demographics, right? So I was like, okay, well, you're advocating for a majority of people who look like myself at a time in the industry where we're diversity hiring like mad, and you're making life disproportionately difficult for these groups of people. Is this what you want? Is this the kind of society or industry that you want? And he just shot back with this stupid, well, if you're looking at the data, people who want to end the pandemic, I'm like, if you're looking at the data, you would understand, age stratification, you would understand who's most at risk, you would understand comorbidities, you would understand all these things that you clearly don't know anything about, but you're speaking about with such confidence. And so I would see all these people that I used to work with who were just, this Broadway show closed early.
Yeah, that describes it so on point for what I experienced too. Because I'll be looking at the data and seeing stuff, and then at this time is when I started finding out about Eric July, Tom Woods, Dave Smith, Jimmy Dore. There's a lot of people who started talking about this, and many others on Twitter. A lot of them were banned. Naomi Wolf, and probably red flagged the video just for saying her name. They had her in emails between the CDC and Facebook. Was it Facebook or Twitter? I forget which one. That they specifically said, Naomi Wolf, we don't like what she's saying here, paraphrasing. But getting information from people and making my own kind of determination, then asking questions, and then the same thing as Clifton's, like, okay, you are about this. I don't look at the world with this whole race thing like people do, but if you do, help me understand what's happening here. And no answer. No, all straw man, all ad hominem, no real answers to these questions. And I'm like, damn, they don't know anything. They're not looking. They don't know any of the stuff, even that's just listed up there, public stuff. They don't even know it. They don't even want to know it. this ain't got nothing to do, like the response got nothing to do with proper health response. This is something else. This is an ideology. This is a belief. Then I started going through, remembering some of my philosophy classes I had and stuff like that. Like, damn, this is collectivism. Like, I never thought I'd see that in America. You kind of see how the show's ending, how it started. Rule America, Black Fist, Black Lives Matter fist, that's represented communism, Marxism in a rural part of the country. That's the kind of stuff that woke me up. That's the red pill.
Early, oh, if only more people have worn masks. Oh, it wasn't the third shot. It should have been. They should have got 7. You know, there's this complete monoculture and groupthink that that's almost impenetrable. And if you say something about it, then you either get clapped back on social media, which is the worst thing in the world. People treat it as if it's the worst thing in the world to have people say mean things about you on Twitter. Meanwhile, people are getting shot on the subway in New York. You know what I mean? But that's what it is. So it's this weird culture of conformity, and people will just, it doesn't matter what you ever did, you know, before that, they'll question you. And thankfully I have some cool people who are like, all right, I understand it, but you know, the industry needs you, man. Like, you know, you need to be able to share your gifts. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I'm not gonna be coerced into taking something I don't need and that I don't trust. And that, I mean, I already got the disease, you know? And if I were to book a movie where they were like, hey, you gotta go travel over here and get the yellow fever vaccine, I would get it, because I don't want yellow fever, but I already had COVID, but no one seems to really care about any of that. So I don't know, my schadenfreude is sort of high right now. I'm like, you know, I hope not anything bad happens, but at some point, the dam has to break. They have to see something is wrong. But again, long-winded, but I hope that answers sort of your question in a way.
One of the things we talk about is kind of the need to build new institutions to give, you know, to kind of break away from a lot of the tyranny of the past. Do you see any opportunities where, you know, is the future of Broadway, Orlando, right? Is there the opportunity for development within the arts in a way that we've seen in some other industries of breaking away and perhaps trying to cultivate talent and culture in freer states? Yeah, it's a very exciting time right now. I'm slowly collecting people who are in the industry. I was just telling some new friends of mine that, you know, there are people that I went to conservatory with who have the same sort of aesthetic and standard and training that I do. And we're all seeing the same things and saying this is not right. So you have people, for instance, who are, you know, in the comic book industry right now, who are really doing launching their own lines, which is really amazing to see. Musicians have been doing this for a long time. So now the difficult part is to get more artists and filmmakers and playwrights and actors and directors and so forth to come together. And I mean, my dream is to try to broadcast just great work to people across the nation so that theater can become more of a cultural, a popular cultural American institution like it was like back in the 50s. And I think with the technology that we have, we can do that today. And also there's people around the world now, there's these systems in place where people can say, you know, well, I'm on Social Security, but I like what you do, so I'll give you this $2 and I'll contribute to what you do. Or, you know, I'm a truck driver, I don't have that much money, or I'm a broke high school kid or something, but I'll give you like $5 to
wait for who he, I think, references right here.
You know, to help put on your concert and pay your musicians and stuff like that. So it takes a lot of organization, which a lot of artists just don't have, unfortunately. But slowly we're coming together and figuring it out. And I think, you know, we talk a lot about decentralization and parallel societies, and I think, you know, people are reacting really positively. So again, more good news for all of you.
I thought that was where, maybe I missed it, where he was going to mention comic books. Who has shown independence in the comic book industry like I don't think we've ever seen before? Eric July. I wonder if that's who he was referencing. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah. Firstly, I admired the honesty and radical transparency in your speech. I listened to one of your recent podcasts in which you were discussing contemporary stereotypes about libertarians. In your opinion, what is the most annoying contemporary stereotype about libertarians? You know,
it's hard for me to answer that question because I feel bad because like when I had Jeff on the show, I was just like, so sometimes you do these talkbacks as actors where people ask stuff like, how do you learn all those lines? And you're just like, oh, okay, this is like the most basic, you know, shit ever. But
Sorry for my language. But so I had to ask Jeff, like, what, can you explain sort of the libertarian ethos, And so it's tough for me to answer that question, to be honest, because I don't know enough about libertarianism.
So like he's in the beginning of his journey, kind of like me. And I don't know if I would stereotype. I think it goes back to my pinned thing on Twitter, where what my impression of the Libertarian Party was the dude who got up on stage and took his clothes off. It was like, I'm for liberty. Like, you're just kind of out there. It's like, what is that about? That's not like a movement I want to be a part of. But now the Mises Caucus has taken over. My question now is, I think one of the biggest challenges with libertarianism is it feels like, that's what I really like about Clifton Duncan. He's like, I don't know much about it, but I'm open to it. You don't need to be some expert in all of these famous libertarians or these different philosophies, Austrian economics, all that. You don't have to be an expert in all that stuff to understand the basic principles of wanting government as close to you as possible. That's all it is. Peace, non-aggression, and having government, the people who are running the government for you, to have that control as close to you as possible with anything, any decision, schools, roads. Hopefully it's no government, but whoever's making those group decisions as close to you as possible. That's all it is. You don't have to worry about much. There's different types and all that. Don't really have to worry about that.
To have formulated a stereotype in my mind. I will say that, there's guys like Tom Woods, who was like, I've seen you and I saw that. I saw you in that show. I saw it 1,000,000 times. And I think it was just, it's this and da-da-da-da. And so there's no kind of, there's no stereotype. I've never done that before, by the way. That's the first time. There's no stereotype for me, and I keep meeting people who break whatever stereotype there might be, I'm looking around this room at you people right now, there's no sort of conformity or we're all kind of dorks, but there's no sort of, I don't see any sort of singular trait about any of you, which is a great thing to see. It's almost like real diversity, who knows? Within this sphere, but you know what I mean. So, sorry I can't answer your question.
So first of all, your Tom Woods impression was spot on, and you should totally play him in a movie or something. So how important is it for actors and celebrities to come out in for the cause of liberty as opposed to just like nerdy academics like us?
I don't know if it's that important because we're not the smartest people, to be honest with you.
I'm going to disagree with him on that, but I'm going to let him finish.
What I want is a world where an actor can come out, and say, an actor can say, like, I spoke at the Mises Institute, and I did a podcast with Douglas Murray and Jeff Deist, and not have people say that I'm some kind of Nazi. And I do think it is. So there's actually a group. I'm not going to name who they are, but it's a more conservatively leaning actors group. It was started by Gary Sinise, and it's kind of like Fight Club. You can't talk about it. It's like invite only, and they take their secrecy and anonymity very, very seriously. And you're not supposed to talk about it at all, and because nobody wants to lose work. And again, it annoys me because I'm like, guys, this is part of the problem, where you have these actors. And I could name people that I'm like, it's obvious that you're not on this whole woke train, but they kind of stay out of it, and I know they're staying out of it for self-preservation. And so it is important just in terms of breaking, sort of jamming the culture and breaking it up and saying, look, there's more of us here. And I think what it also does, what it would also do, so yeah, I guess it is important, because then you have more and more people who will be drawn to what it is and what we do. And, you know, we're not just sort of these freaky show ponies with these ridiculous opinions, who are just saying things that we, you know, I mean, I love Mark Ruffalo, but if you tweet all this crap about capitalism, I'm like, we wouldn't know who you are if it weren't for capitalism. You know what I mean? And so my hope is that more people would speak up, just to say, like, look, we're more like you, because our job ultimately is to serve you. You know, you are our audience, you are our ticket buyers, our customers, and it's my job to deliver indelible, just compelling experiences that you won't forget. That's the whole point of what we do. You know, that's the service that we provide to you. And when you have people who continually say, like, you know, more than half the country is a bunch of, again, racist Nazis, that really doesn't ingratiate people. You know, I see people all the time who are checking out. They're saying, you know, I don't go to movies anymore. I don't, you know, I don't read comics anymore. I don't do this. I don't do that. And I said, no, that's not. We're moving people further and further away from each other. When really one of the magic things about what we do is that a bunch of people can come into a dark room who don't know each other and have this communal experience together, and then maybe afterward they talk about it, you know, and that's what I would like. I would hope that more people speak up and say, like, you know, there's a broad diversity of thought and range of opinion, and it's more reflective of the audience that we're serving, as opposed to this tiny clustered minority of just crazy, stupid Marxist radicals. So that's my answer.
It's more important for non-political figures, I don't care where they are. That's culture. Everything that's really non-directly political is culture, and they are more powerful. So it's more important. I'm not going to make anybody, or obviously not, or I don't want anybody to do it if they're not ready, or they don't understand how to stay within their lane of knowledge. Like Clifton Duncan stays within his range of knowledge. If you're not ready to do it, then I don't want you to do it. But if you can, it's important. How often do you see people bring up Gina Carano, sticking to her beliefs, and now Clifton Duncan getting a lot of attention, I think, you know, relatively speaking, and praise and motivating, even stepping out when there's no parallel economy for him to just fall into. Gina Carano fell into Daily Wire. So the culture is more important than anything.
So everybody, please, a big round of applause for Clifton Duncan.
Yeah, I think I missed the part where you talked about he said comic books there, but he also brought up it earlier, and I think he was talking about Eric July. That's the power of what Eric July is doing. So, yep, I'm gonna be out. Well, I appreciate the hanging out, and I like leaving it out with Clifton Duncan talking about liberty, and you don't have to be some expert. You don't have to all agree. Everybody in that room doesn't agree. But there's a fundamental shift, a fundamental movement that they all want to have happen and agree with. And you can see that happening. So start out with Rural America, went to Tim Pool, and how Tim Pool is a general. If you didn't hear that, you'll have to go back a little whiles. But Tim Pool is a general in this informational civil war that's happening. And for him to want to protect his property, which is his channels, I 100% side with him on. Now, is there hypocrisy there with, you know, not with telling people to stand up for what they believe in and not give in? Yeah, there is. But I'd rather him be on YouTube and to have a little bit of hypocrisy. We are all hypocrites. I'm trying to think what I'm a hypocrite about, but I know it's there. I need to write it down next time I think of them. But thanks a lot for hanging out. I appreciate it. I am out. Good night. And we do have a Discord as well. So I will put a link to the Discord in the chat real quick. If you want to continue the conversation, good people, good conversation in the Discord. The testament, the thing that I look at for good Discord is, or good discussion is, can we disagree and still be cool? That is my number one. That's one of my biggest factors that I look at. Like when I look at a community or like a channel, a chat room, can we disagree and be good? Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. It was fun. Felt good. First one in a while. Take care, everybody.